Hi, everybody. It's Lori and Lawrence back again for another episode of This Week in Flat Earth. And I'm pretty excited because Lawrence is going to surprise us all, including me, with some new revelations about the flat Earth, the dogma, the research, the mythology, perhaps some implanted information showing that some of the flat Earth started as a psyop. And so we're just going to let him roll it and see what he comes up with. He sort of is going to come off as either Lawrence the mad scientist or Lawrence the incredibly creative thinker. So you be the judge of that. And this show today is going to be about multiple topics, but one of the primary ones will be that we're going to debunk the ice wall that supposedly surrounds the flat Earth, according to those who believe in the map and model called the azimuthal equidistant. First of all, let me explain and assure everyone that Lawrence and I are indeed still full-on flat Earth believers. And so we're not debunking anything for the purpose of debunking flat Earth. We're just trying to get once and for all to the proper knowledge, truth, information, research about what is true so far about flat Earth and what is made up, what is disinfo, what has been added to or created as mythology of what the flat Earth means, what the flat Earth theory means. And before this thing gets to the serious mainstream, we want to make sure that we have verified and checked all of the official flat Earth dogma that has been circulating and being regurgitated and repeated ad nauseum by some of the, if not most of the top flat Earth gurus and many people who have not taken the time or been able to do their own research. And meaning with do your own research is verifying the research of others at the minimum. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Lawrence, who's going to show us some pretty amazing stuff, I think. Even I haven't seen it yet. So,
yeah.
Hi, Lawrence.
Yep. Hi, Laurie. Hi, viewers. Okay, I've got some good stuff on the show for you. I've done a lot of research this week, and this is all new stuff. You won't have heard any of this before, or a great deal of it you won't have heard it before because it's not been out there. The Gleason map, as people tend to be using it, you've got Antonio Subirats having it as the backdrop where he does his hangouts. You've got Bob Xanadu 60, and you've got lots of the other flat earthers with the AE map as their backdrop. You know, I think they still do it despite the fact that it's a big lie and has been proven so conclusively on the show over many, many, many weeks. So first of all, I'm going to share the screen again. So just bear with me. I'll get the screen share going, hopefully. Entire screen share. Okay. Okay, so do you see that there, Laurie?
Yes, I do. That's the Gleason timepiece.
That is the original map of Gleason's, yeah? I'll try and enlarge it. Maybe it won't. Okay. All right, I won't go any bigger. But basically, this is the original map that was filed at the Patent Office in 1893, I think it was. And what you have here is the continents put on a circular map with these two fingers. And basically the way this works is that you set the finger on the UK on 0, to get Greenwich Mean Time, and then for every 15 degrees that you move to the east, you add on an hour, and every 15 degrees you go to the west, you take off an hour. That's why you're behind us in the States, because I'm here and you're down here somewhere. So that's all this was. It was a timekeeping device. So anyway, I had a bit of a lucid moment about an hour ago, and I have watched these art programs where somebody's got this famous painting, but they're having to prove its authenticity. So what they do, they take x-rays of it, they scrape a bit of the paint off it and have it forensically analysed to see what its makeup is and see if it's the same paint as what they were using, hundreds of years ago, whenever the painting was made. And they look at the painting style, obviously, and stuff like that to decide whether it's real or not. So obviously I haven't got the Gleason map as per the Boston Library. So I was looking at other areas. So what I'm going to bring up now is the Gleason map, if I can find it. Gleason original. Let's bring that up. Has that come up?
Yeah.
Because it's not come up on mine yet.
Wait, do that again. It says original up in the corner.
Hang on, no, I want the Gleason original. Let's have a look. Oh, sorry, I want the Gleason.
You want the colored one, correct?
Yeah, just a minute. Gleason new. Okay. Oh yeah, Gleason new. Let's open that up.
Okay, you have to.
Okay, I'm just going to take this down on the screen so people can get a better look at it.
All right, that's the one.
So if you look at the map, you've got this little bit in the corner which is dog-eared. I think this is a complete forgery. So you've got this little bit in the corner that's dog-eared, and then this stuff over here. And then it says Gleason's new standard map of the world on the projection of J.S. Christopher, Modern College, Blackheath, England. You try and find any history of that. There's nothing there whatsoever of this guy, about this guy. There's absolutely nothing. Then it says patent allowed November the 15th, 1892. So it's gone from that old map, which was just a timekeeping device, yeah, and now it's become, a longitude and latitude calculator, and it's telling you all sorts of things below about the movements of the sun, all the ones that we have debunked as being, porkies. So all this stuff is on here to actually back up the model that is being used by 95% of the headline flat earthers. So I thought, that's interesting. What else can I do? I can't get the map to have a look at it and scrutinise it. So what I did then, I decided to look at typefaces, see what sort of typefaces they were using. So I'm going to bring one up now. I haven't told you what I'm showing you, Roy, but do you recognise that font?
No.
Okay.
I'm not much of a font person, though. I'm sure there's lots of people out there. I just use the same font all the time. So.
Okay. Well, that is the font. Okay. So now we're going to go to the Gleason map again. Okay. And it says there time calculator, doesn't it? So I'm going to type in time calculator. Laurie, is that the same text? Is that the same font?
Well, it's really darn close. The one that you've typed in the box is a little tighter, as they call it, than the one on the map itself. It's a little more stretched out. The letters themselves and the distance between the letters.
I know, but if you look at all the dots,
all the details of it are pretty close. Maybe the T is a little different.
Yeah, but near as damn it, that is you know, a close match, as close as matches what you're going to get, isn't it?
Pretty close, yes.
All right. So that font is called Times New Roman.
Right.
Yeah. What do you know about that?
I think it's a relatively new font.
Well, that font came out in 1929, and it was a font designed by the Times newspaper.
Okay.
There we are. Times New Roman, which is the font on the map that's been used on the map all over it, gets its name from the Times of London, the British newspaper. In 1929, the Times hired typographer Stanley Morrison of Monotype, a British font foundry, to create a new text font. Morrison led the project and supervised Victor Lardent, an advertising artist for the Times who drew the letter forms. So that font is from 1929.
Very interesting.
Well, when does the Gleason map date back to?
It happens to be 1892.
So you've got a 1929 font, yeah, on an 1892 map, or a map purporting to be from 1892.
Right.
It's a big lie.
That's interesting in and of itself.
Yeah, it's a big lie, and that proves it's a forgery. Because how could they have the fonts of 1929 in 1892? They couldn't.
Yeah, actually, I would love to see what fonts they used for type, because, I mean, that's obvious. They only had so many fonts for typesetting back then because they didn't have computers. And
well, if you look at the font on the original, it's different. There we are. Let's find the original. Purporting to be the original anyway.
That's pretty interesting, Lawrence.
Nice and original. Yeah, that font is. Can you read where it says A. Gleason in block letters? Yeah. Does that look a different font?
Yes, it definitely is a different font.
Yeah. So why would he be using that font on his patent, and one that hadn't been invented for another 40 years, on the one that's here now?
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the history of having mysteriously found this Gleason map in the library? What year was it found? I haven't investigated that myself.
It was donated a couple of years ago.
Okay.
You know, just when flat Earth took off. You know, you can draw your own conclusions for that. It's a bit like that one that they found in the Hawaiian Gazette from 1907, or when it, you know, over 100 years ago, which showed you the flat Earth map with all these bits of land around it. And it's just another one that's been planted.
Okay, so that's very interesting. That's I guess if we had an old-fashioned abacus in front of me, then I would have to slide one over for your side on that one, because fonts definitely have date stamps to them, and most of the fonts, original fonts that they used for typesetting, literally came in little boxes at the typesetters. I mean, they literally took little letters out and laid them in a row on the newspaper or on the print device, the plate, and then they, hold on, I got my camera off. But and then, you know, they literally print over that plate, and when they change the type for the next production, they pull all those little letters off, put them back in these little boxes, and pull new ones out and set the type again. That's why they called them typesetters. So they only had so many of those little letters in certain fonts for each newspaper or printing company. So that's interesting.
Yes,
I like that.
So,
okay. Okay.
Anyway,
so we'll add that to the other reasons why we don't fully embrace the Gleason map as a map. I mean, other than the fact that it's patented as a timekeeping device, and not a map for navigation, correct?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So I have one for you before you go off on your next one. I think we should do a little tit for tat. How's that? Okay. So I'm going to do a screen share myself, and I'm going to show you if you go on Google or any search engine and type into the search engine buy likes and views, for example, just that, buy likes and views. You don't have to put on Facebook or YouTube or anything. And you'll come up with about somewhere between 30 and 40 pages of companies, whether they're individuals, whether they're websites, or whether they're sort of major-ish companies that will sell you YouTube likes, YouTube subscribers, views for your videos. And as you can see by the prices on the screen here, here's 50,000 YouTube views, 1 day delivery time, $100. You can buy 1 million YouTube views over 9 days for only $1,750. You can buy as few as, I believe, 400 on other sites that I have visited for, a couple dollars. And so if you're a YouTuber and you come out of nowhere and you want to look like you're substantial and like you have followers and you want to be taken seriously by people who are scanning through different subjects and topics to watch videos on YouTube, for example, the first thing you want to do is you want to go in there and try to get you a whole bunch of subscribers. Okay, so this is for YouTube. This one, let me go back to the page. This is for YouTube. Buy YouTube views, special packages, links, or likes. So here's buy YouTube subscribers. Buy YouTube subscribers from the most trusted social media supplier. Increase subscribers on YouTube. Make sure that people see your video by buying subscribers. And so let's view that one. And oh, we have to check my browser. Make sure I'm not government. Okay, and then here's YouTube. Let's see, high USA and UK retention. Here's YouTube packs, bundles. Here's 50 YouTube subscribers for only $15. Here's 1,000 YouTube subscribers for only $200. And if you think this is a joke, I encourage you. Here's 2,000 YouTube subscribers for only $380. Okay. Now these guys have money back guarantees on their products. Here's money back guarantee. If for any reason your views never get delivered, we will offer you a 100% money back guarantee, no questions. Fast and quality views. If for any reason your views never get delivered, we will offer you a 100% money back guarantee. Quick customer support. The cheapest YouTube view supplier on the net. I mean, PayPal verified. This is here's testimonials over here on this side of the page. Okay. Now, if you're a business and you're just opening, let's say you're opening a new restaurant in a small town, and you want to get instant notice, and instant credibility and so on, you can set up a website, set up a channel, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, doesn't matter. You can get likes, you can get subscribers, and you instantly become real. You write up your own wonderfully glowing testimonials, and you have them submitted under somebody's whatever name, okay? And nobody's the wiser. Nobody knows the difference whether it's live or Memorex. And so it's interesting. Here's about the company. best social media marketing site, be more popular now. All right. So if you're a business, I can see where this would come in very handy. But if you're a YouTube channel who is going to put out some disinformation, you can do the same thing and become very popular on YouTube pretty quickly. Wow, look at all the subscribers they have. Okay. And you can look at one of the ways that you can determine that this is somebody's YouTube channel is a little bogus or not, is you can look at how many subscribers they have. Here's Twitter, same thing. Twitter, 10,000 Twitter followers. Here's 1,000 high quality views, bundles of packs. Okay. 1,000 YouTube views, delivery time, 1 day, $2. So it's pretty interesting that people believe that these people that they're watching their YouTube channels are real and are substantial credibility people, because look at all the subs they have. Look at all of the YouTube subscribers they have and likes, and they don't have any dislike, 1 or 2 dislikes for 500 likes on their videos. So it's pretty interesting that people are getting buffaloed every day by who's zooming who. I can go on record as saying, you know, we haven't asked for any, we haven't paid for any subscribers on our channel. We haven't paid for any likes, even though there have been times when it's I've come close, thinking, you know what, this video needs to be seen more, and if I can put some more likes on it and some more views on it, people will give it more credibility and will watch it. So, but one thing you can for sure tell is if you go to a channel and they have, let's say, 8,000 subscribers, okay, and they have put out a new video and it has 100,000 views on it. The chances of that happening within days of putting it out there are about as ludicrous as you can imagine, because Lawrence and I have been doing this one little show for how long, Lawrence? 8, 9 months, something like that.
9 to 10 months, yeah.
Yeah. And we have slowly over all that time added a few subscribers a week and a few more. And sometimes our videos get 3,000 or 4,000 views. Sometimes they get 10,000. Sometimes we can barely eke out 1,700. And all the while, the subscriber ratio to viewer ratio is pretty pretty much the same. In other words, if you have the same amount of subscribers and your views go up and down a lot, then that means that people are really actually following your content or don't really care for it. And we can go from 1 week doing one show that is hardly that much different than the show the week before that. And sure enough, it's interesting that the view counts will go up one time and then they'll just sit there and stagnate another time. So I wanted to bring that up to people, especially another shout out to John LeBon, who believes that there are no such thing, or I don't know whether he still does. Maybe he's working his way into coming over to the our side, but says that there's, Lori believes there's all these agencies out there who are paying people to watch videos and like them and dislike them and troll them and so on and so forth. Most people who are doing truth do not have $100 or even $30 or $40, especially $350 to buy views, okay, and subscribers and likes. They just can't do it. They're just not going to do it. The value for their money is not there. And so the chances of that being some normal Joe like me and Lawrence buying all these views is pretty slim. But some government-backed, some agency-backed YouTube channel definitely would be paying a lot of money out for views and subscribers because it's important for them to have credibility. So that's my little addition to
it's funny you should
reality.
say that, Laurie, because I had a look at a few of the prominent flat earthers pages today, and you're getting some. Let's say they've got between 5,000 and 10,000 subscribers. They're getting like 3 or 4 times as many views as what they actually have subscribers in the space of a few days, and that just doesn't stack up. Whereas with ours, our viewing figures are pretty much the same every week. Unless we have somebody who, in inverted commas, is a big name, which will boost the ratings. But generally speaking, our views are about the same. I actually think that our show is being suppressed by YouTube, because I've actually gone in week after week after week now to actually find the show just to watch some of it again. And I can't find it unless I go to Flat Earth Conspiracy. So if I'm searching on things released in the last 24 hours, straight after this show, for the past few weeks, it just don't come up at all. So what's happening is that some view counts are being suppressed by, keeping it out of the searches, and others are being deliberately inflated by people actually spending money to get views that aren't real views. It's just some bot on the other end tapping away all these videos to generate some cash for themselves. So yeah.
Well, also, it remains to be seen, because I haven't had the time yet to kind of cross verify, but when you think about which ones are being recommended, okay, versus ones that aren't, I would venture to say that the ones that are monetizing their videos and allowing ads on their videos are more than likely getting recommended over people who are not monetizing their channel and putting ads on it. As a matter of fact, a couple of different weeks, Lawrence has run some video footage during our show, and we've gotten copyright hits. They tag your video even before it's finished processing and becomes archived. They tag your video with the copyright, and if the person that you shared their copywritten material doesn't mind that you share it without permission, they reserve the right to add advertising and for them to monetize your video because you shared their copywritten material on your video, which I can't control. I'm doing everything I can to non-monetize our show. I don't want any advertising on it. I don't want people, if somebody clicks on our video, I want it to start playing right off the bat. I don't want, in 5 seconds, you can turn this ad off, because you can lose viewers that way if too much time goes by before the show starts, even though some people, they just don't know that you can click off of an ad. So, anyway, it's very interesting, the dynamics that go on behind the scenes of YouTube. It is like a television/radio station in that, they're not doing it for shits and giggles. They're doing it to make millions and millions of dollars off of. And there has to be a damn good reason why Google would buy YouTube, because it's profitable, right? All right, hit us with some more good stuff, Lawrence. What do you got? What else?
Right, you ready? Okay, well, last week we had melons. Was it melons and goats? And this week
we had goats. We had melons. What do you got? Onions?
This is my little ball of dough.
Oh,
okay.
Ball of dough.
This is supposed to be the globe, okay, for this demonstration. I'm just going to roll it in some flour a little bit so it doesn't stick to my hand. A bit of moisture there. That's coming up on the screen. Okay, so I've got this little ball of dough. So this is just basically something regarding the circular map. So as you know, Laurie, with the azimuthal equidistant map, these equidistant maps, basically you can find any point on the map and you make that the center, yeah? And so that would be right smack in the middle there. Okay. So when you look at the Earth like this, imagine this was the Earth, and you look at the surface area on a sphere, yeah, what do you think would happen to that surface area if I roll that pastry out, this flat Earth out, like squashing the flat Earth to make, you know, one of these round maps? What do you think would happen to the surface area?
Well, I think it would be redistributed. I mean, if it were actually dough, I can already imagine you rolling that dough out and all of the continents would all just be smushed out, right?
But do you think that the surface area will be exactly the same, less or more?
The surface area, okay, let's see. Well, I guess it would depend on how much you rolled it out. If you rolled it out to about, 6 or 8 inches, then I would think the surface area would be more. Let me think logically.
Well, to make, if you squash the globe, squash this globe, yeah, okay, would the surface area be more or less? Anyway, so
I don't think it would be the same, Lawrence.
No, the surface area, the more you flatten it out, the greater it becomes, and I'm going to prove that to you with some basic little math.
Okay. I'm keeping it in my head that the back side is the bottom of that circle and the front side. So we're only going to have one side. I got you. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So the more you roll it out,
right,
the flatter you make it, the bigger the surface area. It's a bit like pizza dough, isn't it? You start with and they swirl it around if they're doing it by hand, and it gets thinner and thinner and wider. So that's what the projections are. It's the AE maps are flattened versions of the map with the point that you want in the center as the center of the map. So if you were doing one from where you live, you'd have Sarasota right bang in the center of the map, and if you were traveling on it, then directions in a straight line through Sarasota would be accurate, but as you moved away from it, they become progressively more distorted. So, if I said to you, what do you think the surface area of the globe is?
Surface area. I don't think I've ever looked up that number.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm just going to go back to a screen share again. Just a second. Share. There we go. Okay. Oops, let me just shorten that so you can see it.
There's that dog-eared corner. That's pretty funny. So that's the only thing wrong with that map since 1892. That's pretty hilarious. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Well, the surface area of the globe is 196.9 million miles, and you can check that out for yourself by going onto one of these calculators. And you just type in the radius and it does the math to work out what it is. So it's 196.9 million miles. But if you look at the Gleason map, to calculate the surface area of that, it's pi, 3.141592, times the radius squared. This is standard, trigonometry type stuff. And that brings out the total surface area at 487 million square miles, which is like 2.5 times as big as the surface area of the globe. And this explains why in the southern oceans in there, everything is greatly inflated in terms of distances traveled. And the Sydney to Santiago flight, is about 16,000 miles, whereas in reality it's only 7. So, the 2.5 times as much is shown there. 2.5 times 7 is about 17.5, isn't it? So the surface area of the globe is nowhere near as big as the Gleason map. So there's another reason to debunk it. But I have got more stuff to come. So I decided to take a look at. Let me take this down and talk to people for a minute. I can't talk as long as you, but. There we are.
Was that a crack, Lawrence, or what?
No. I'm glad you talk, Laurie, as I can't, unless it's something specific. I can't keep the conversation going as long as you, but I decided to take a look at, so I'd worked out what the area was around the ice wall using some basic math, using known information on the fake Gleason map, and you'll be surprised at this. So I've got to go and screen share, not Sheen Square. Let's bring that back up again. Come on, let me share again. There we go. Well, this is very interesting if you're interested in facts and figures. Let's bring this one up. Okay, that's not that one. Open. Okay, just make it a bit smaller. Okay, so.
Okay, roll your scroll up a little bit. There you go. Okay.
Okay, so with this, what we're doing is comparing distances across the entire latitude. So obviously on a square map, it goes from left to right, and on a globe, it goes around the middle. And obviously with progressively smaller circles as it moves north and moves south of the equator. So if you look at this map, the Gleason map, latitude 90 north, it's just a point. So there's no distance there. And then as you move further away from the centre, the distance increases, so that by the time you get to the extremities at 90 south, it's 78,229 miles. And then I've worked out using some basic trigonometry stuff and math to work out what the distances would be round at various latitudes. That's the circles going round on this map at various latitudes. So you can look at the equator, for example, and on the Gleason map, the distance round that is over 39,000, whereas on the globe, on our map, it's just short of 25,000. And then as you get south of the equator, it goes up quite a lot. So you get round to about 30 south, and it's 52,000 miles. It's double the circumference of the Earth at 30 south, whereas on the globe, it's only 16,000. So, when you get to 90 south, it's 78,229 miles. And on the globe, it's just a point, as it is on our diamond-shaped map. So, you can see there that the distances are greatly inflated compared to reality. And that's why you can't, the Southern Hemisphere flights are not going to work, because in terms of distance around, at 70 south, it's, what's that, 5,500 into 69. That's about, about 11 times more. 11 times further around, and at 90 south, it's infinity times more. So obviously, the flights that they try and do in that Southern Hemisphere, they're just not going to fit on that map. The distances between them are enormous.
Okay,
so,
Lawrence, why did they say then, why do these people who support this map, for example, Rob Skiba, who went to a great deal of length in a video to describe the equidistant ratio of each one of those latitudes equals itself, or whatever it was he came up with to justify the increasing distance in miles on this Gleason or AE map.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that there, what he did effectively, he explained how the map was worked, but the way the map is work, it distorts it out of all proportion. So Rob Skiba was telling us what's wrong with it as a reason to justify it. Well, we know what's wrong with it. He was just telling us what we already knew, and it doesn't work. But people thought it was great because he explained what was wrong with it, and because he'd explained what was wrong with it, that made it right. I mean, it's just a bizarre way of actually doing things.
Well, I mean, he had a mathematical formula, whatever it was in that video, that explained as each one of those degrees of distance between, let's say, 30 south, 40 south, 50 south, as they got wider, the width of them was to be considered as equidistant as the ones in the north. Am I explaining right what kind of justification he came up with in that? Does that make sense to what he said?
Well, he was telling you that the little triangle things. I think he was saying that they were the same or whatever. But he didn't bring information to the table which proved the Gleason map. He brought information to prove it was a heap of crap.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are like sharing that video. Ooh, look here what Rob Skiba said, and look what he did, and look what he's showing us.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just see where we are from tonight. So we've established that the Gleason map, the original map, is nothing like the one that was released 2 years ago. They are, totally different. There's been all sorts of information put around the new one, and it has a new typeface, and that typeface wasn't invented till 1929, whereas the Gleason came out in 1892. We've looked at the surface area of the Gleason map, and it's 2.5 times that of the globe, and obviously that can't work. And I've just showed you with the pastry demo that when you roll things out, you're actually increasing the surface area. So that would explain that. So I've got a couple of other things on this now, which are quite big, well, pretty major. I think there's a message hidden in plain sight on the Gleason map. So before we move on to the pièce de la résistance of tonight's show, well, I think actually the forgery was the pièce de résistance. It superseded the one that I've got, but the one I've got is pretty good. We get cut off now. It's because, mind you, it's the second one, so second best one of the night. So what I'm going to do is bring up that Gleason map, and I was going to ask you a question about it, so let me bring it up. Am I still screen sharing, Larry?
You're on screen full time right now.
All right, so I'm screen sharing. Let me just bring it up again. Gleason map. Okay, let's have a look. All right, now, if you were looking at that, these people like to hide things.
We're not seeing what you're sharing. We're just seeing your arm. Your white.
All right, sorry, let me go back to screen share. I think the screen share, I think I turned it off while I was chatting, and all you can see is my arm now.
Well, every time you change what you want to share, it goes away. So.
All right, let me bring that up again. Okay, so
comes back.
All right, so take a look at this Gleason map, Laurie.
Okay.
And there's the, where do you see things that are on it that are a bit Masonic? What do you see?
Well, I see a pyramid shape at the top as it is inside of it. And then I've seen all of this before. I see the all-seeing eye version of the light of Illuminati at the top of the pyramid.
Okay.
Let's see, what else?
All right. Well, if you look at the map, the top of the pyramid, it says "as it is."
Right.
Yeah. Now, in my opinion, and this is speculation, but it's my opinion. And where it says "as it is," let me just show you something. So if you look at these lines coming away from "as it is" to form that, and the lines going in for the longitude, just take a look at this. Where's that one gone? There we go. Yeah. Okay. As it is, yeah. There's line going there, line going there. You join those lines up, and what do you have?
You have a diamond.
Yeah. And right at the top of it, as it is. Yeah?
Yeah.
So in my view, they're telling you on the map, jokes. But this is as it is, if you're smart enough to know. I mean,
that also has that sort of saying in it as above, so below kind of thing they always talk about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite curious there, Lawrence. And what, if anything, is there any significance to the line in the center that divide the equator, I guess, of the pyramid? Is there any significance to the location of that on that map?
I haven't looked into that, to be honest, Laurie.
I mean, one of them is at 3 o'clock. I mean, there's two little pyramids on each side of your black pyramid at the equator above it. Can you see those?
These little tiny pyramids, yeah?
Yeah, the two little pyramids at the left and right above the equator of that diamond. Yeah, those are the, I never have been able to figure out what those are about, but they have lines that lead up from them to, one goes under new. I can't read the other one because now you got something over the top of it, but go ahead.
Right, okay, all right, it's all right. Yeah, well, you see those two bits sticking out there? Yeah.
Oh, there it is, New World. One of them, the one line, the top of the pyramid goes up to the little starish looking thing under the word new, and the other one goes up to the starish thing under the word world.
But you've got centered in the middle map, and then into the thingy as it is, and then you've got this shape directly beneath it. So yeah,
that's one of those. Look what we can get away with right in front of your face. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so I've got another screen to bring up now.
All right.
Shut that down. Okay, where's that one gone? Okay, so take a look at this map.
All right.
Yeah. What we've got here is Antarctica. Yeah. And you've got the likes of, Math Powell and what have you telling you that it's, 78,000 miles around it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right. So if I said to you,
can you make your screen on your computer? Is that full screen, that map on your?
Yeah, I can read it. Can you not read it?
Yeah, I can. I just can't see it all, but that's okay.
All right. Well, where my cursor is now, you've got McMurdo, yeah,
right,
which is an American base, and you've got Amundsen Scott, which is another American base, yeah. And every day during the summer months, which is our winter, the planes fly from McMurdo to Amundsen to take supplies and ferry people back and to. Yeah, so Amundsen Scott is the one that's supposedly at 90 degrees, at the South Pole. But every day there are flights going between there and there. So looking at that and looking at the relative size of the Ross ice shelf, how far would you say it was from McMurdo to Amundsen Scott?
Oh gosh, let's see. I don't know. I'm going to take a stab and say about 80 miles.
All right. Well, okay. And how far would you say it was between those two places on the Gleason map?
I'm going to re-stab. I'm going to say 150 miles.
All right. And how far would you say the distance between there and there is on the Gleason map?
Thousands.
Well, let's take a look, shall we?
Okay.
Because I've plotted out various research stations on the Gleason map so you can see where they are relative to each other. And you're going to love this, folks. Okay, let me just move this down a little bit so you can see it. Okay. Oops. All right. So, there's McMurdo.
Okay, McMurdo's over on the left side over there, all right?
Yep. And there's Amundsen on the other side. Okay, they're on opposite sides of the Earth. The distance between one and the other is not far short of 25,000 miles. Yeah. What is the distance in reality? It's to make it a little bigger so I can read my writing there. Okay, the distance. So McMurdo. Sorry, I've got the wrong distance. The distance between. Let's bring it down a bit. Where's that going?
Oh, I see 1,632 miles. But in distance in reality between.
Sorry, in the Arctic. All right, yeah.
Okay. So I was like pretty far off with
There
my
are daily flights
150.
between Murder
I was
and
looking at the
on this
wrong
map, the flight would
instance
be
scale.
24,000 miles. The plane that makes that is a Hercules LC-30, and it's got a top speed of 410 miles an hour. It would take 58 hours at top speed to get there, whereas the real distance between McMurdo and Amundsen Scott is 801 miles. So it would take, allowing for slowing down to come into land and slower speeds while you're taking off, it would take 2 to 3 hours. But on the map here, it would take 58 hours. So you can see how absurd it is.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
and plus don't you think they would notice if they weren't flying over ice? I mean, if they're flying on that long line across Earth, across the whole surface there, they'd be flying over, what is that, Russia? And
yeah, on this map,
all the way over the
you would
ocean.
have to fly all over the mainland to get from one side to the other. But that doesn't happen. That's why they're using the LC-30 planes.
Okay, and so
here we go. Is that on there?
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
All right. Okay, so here we are. Australia's Antarctic summer season has begun with a flight to Casey Station via the United States McMurdo Station. The A319 left Hobart for McMurdo on Monday, but bad weather delayed the onward ski-equipped Hercules flights to Casey for a week. And then it's just basically going about telling you about, what it's all about. On that one, let me bring the other one up. Another one is somewhere.
Okay, so that's
this is the aircraft, so you can see there for yourself, Max. This is the Hercules, top speed 660 kilometers an hour, which comes down to just over 400. Not that one.
Well, Lawrence, I think that's quite a revelation. Anybody who can't see.
There we are. There's the proof. The 1998, this is from Wiki. The summer season was the last year that the US Navy operated the 5 to 6 LC-30 Hercules service fleet. Beginning in 1999-2000, the New York Air National Guard 109 Airlift Wing took responsibility for daily cargo and passenger flights. So basically, that commercial aircraft, that military aircraft, would have to fly 25,000 miles, which is way beyond its range, and it couldn't get there in a day. It would take 3 days in a non-stop flight. It would be the longest flight in history for that type of plane. So clearly, the official distance of about 800 miles is the correct one.
While you're on this page, Lawrence, I can't help but notice the old dome being disassembled there. And I remember reading about the dome, thinking, what were they really planning on doing with that thing at some point?
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, they gave up on whatever that was somewhere along the way.
Domes a lot. Anyway, so the other one I've got on here is so let's go back to that one. Now,
all right, so hold on just a minute, because I have a question, and because I'm seeing this for the first time too, and I've been working hard all week, so I haven't had a chance to speak with you and go over this material. So I'm seeing it for the very first time just as much, and so the idea is that in order for that flight to happen on this Gleason map, A, it would be impossible, and B, they wouldn't fly all the way across Earth to get to the other side. So there's no way they're popping out one side and coming in the other side, because somebody would say, well, maybe they're using a portal. I can't help it. And then the next, okay.
If it went around the ice wall and stayed over the ice, then it'd be flying, the best part of 40,000 miles.
Exactly. They would be flying for a week.
So the shortest route on this map is directly across the world, all the other continents, which is a joke because it's only 800 miles. So there we are, another nail in the coffin of this map that people are still holding on to for dear life. Yeah. Anyway, so back onto this map, I've plotted various stations on here. So there we go. There's another one. January the 15th, there's a story on this. I've spelt Hercules wrong there. It flew from McMurdo to Davis, if this map is correct. So there's McMurdo. It flew 17,875 miles in a recorded time of 5.6 hours. That gives an average flight speed, Laurie, of 3,192 miles
per hour.
So, you know, David Weiss's supersonic, you've got a propeller plane doing 3,192 miles an hour.
You know, yeah, shout out to David Weiss on that one.
There's Davis, yeah, and there's McMurdo, you know, and it's 17,875 miles. Distance in reality, 1,632, which fits the 5.6 hours. And my thanks for this goes out to Lord Stephen Christ and Zib Rahan for pointing this out to me, because it's been very helpful in debunking this fake map.
Lawrence, could you do me a favor and could you reduce the zoom on this map so we can see the whole thing without you scanning back and forth? Take it all the way down. Okay, now go back up to the top and bring it down a little bit because we only have a couple of flights marked there. Okay, so take your cursor on the map and show us McMurdo to Davis. Show us that.
There's McMurdo.
Yeah. Okay, that's at, what is that, 1 o'clock?
McMurdo is at...
on that 10, map. It's at on 1.
It's about 10 to the hour.
Okay. And Davis?
My cursor is there.
Okay.
And there's Davis at 1 o'clock.
Okay, and that's over by the number 6.
V11.
7, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, and that distance, let's go over it again. That distance is how many miles according to reality?
I'll have to largen it. And the distance in reality is 1,632 miles. Let me just make it a bit larger.
And on the Gleason map, it's 17,875 miles.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
And that is an accurate figure, you know, if that map was correct. Here's another distortion as well. The distance between Perth and Sydney on this map is 5,100 miles. Yeah. But in reality, it's 2,051. So the 2.5 times scale is borne out by Australia.
Right. Sure is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, anybody who is a glober who looks at this Gleason map and sees the size of Australia and how distorted it is, it automatically makes them go, what? You guys believe this? How can you believe this? Because Australia is not shaped like that.
Yeah, let me just bring it smaller again. There we go. And then looking at, I was watching that Robert Shortman chap on from Antarctica, and I think the guy's genuine. And he was at Halley Station here, which is at about 4 o'clock on the number 2, I think it is, 11.
Okay.
He was at Halley. Yeah. So if you look at the nearest research station to him, it's going to be Amundsen Scott, which is the North Pole. And the distance between those two is, on this map, is 5,320 miles, but in reality, it's only 1,000 miles. But the guy was saying that the Americans weren't very friendly, you know, and very standoffish. He was sort of giving me the impression that, you know, they'd made contact with the Americans there. How could they have done if they were 5,320 miles away? That's the distance across Africa. It's a huge distance away. Obviously, there will be contact between the British and the Americans over there, because the distance between that one and that one, it's only 1,000 miles, you know, and those planes, you know, are well capable of flying up to about a couple of 1,000 miles range. So, you know, that chap, Robert Shortman, he thinks this map's correct. You know, he talks about the circular map with the North Pole in the centre, that the Morgile was holding on through all those weeks on our show, you know, North Pole in the centre and stars, right, all that sort of stuff. But this is clearly wrong, because nothing fits. What else have we got on here? Have we got anything else? Palmer Research Station. Yeah, so you can look at some of the Palmer to Casey again, the distance between them. is another 25,000 miles, but in reality, it's a very small fraction of that. I haven't worked all these out yet, but there's lots of information on Antarctica and flights and things that they do. You can go and dig this out, and sometimes they'll tell you how long the flights were, when the flights were, and stuff like that. And obviously, they're not traveling, 25,000 miles to get from one to the other. That is ridiculous. So
we've said in prior shows several times the distance around. I mean, here's kind of the hard part for most people to wrap their mind around, is to compare this version of Antarctica, which is the globe version, to the AE or Gleason version of this ice wall that everybody always talks about. Oh, the ice wall goes all the way around, and that's what prevents the water from draining off of the flat Earth and keeps the oceans intact. And the military guards the ice wall and won't let you get up there, won't let you get past. And I mean, the mythology just goes on and on and on. And it's pretty obvious to just about anybody who compares apples and oranges, because that's what you're comparing, right, Lawrence? I mean, if you're looking at the globe version of Antarctica and the flat Earth version of Antarctica, you can't even compare them. They're not even any remotely close. So there's no possible way for a person to travel around Antarctica. What's the overall distance around this circle of ice, Lawrence? Was it close to 90,000 miles?
I think it's 78,000 miles.
Oh, okay. I always make it bigger. I don't know why. I guess my mind just is baffled that anybody would believe this. But
the distance around
at the beginning, everybody does at the beginning, but to continue to believe it and not question it is not really a good research method. And second of all, when someone does question it and you don't believe their research, then don't you think you should question their research and verify and see if they're trying to be a disinfo agent or a gatekeeper or whatever else the hell Lawrence and I are called all the time from week to week, because we don't buy into the AE map and the AE model. And whether or not you have investigated the diamond map that Lawrence has shown in, you can go to our old video called Map Workshop and see that, Lawrence did the same kind of research on that, showing the distances between different locations on the diamond map versus all kinds: circles, sinusoidal, square, Mercator, all of them, and none of them were closely matching to what the diamond was. And so, you don't have any choice whether you like the outcome of the math and the research. Whether you like it or not does not matter with regards to, is it honest and is it true? I mean, truth doesn't have to be liked in order to be true. And so, and including the old adage, if everybody believes something, it doesn't necessarily make it true. It can still be false, even if everybody believes it. So to not look at this information and to get a new age, new flat Earth form of cognitive dissonance about it and reject it because it doesn't go with what you first heard when you became a flat earther, it's your fault, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
well,
so I'm very pleased with your research, Lawrence, and not in that that it justifies what I already thought or what I already knew or believed, but because when people say, show us your evidence, show us your proof. What do you mean you've debunked this or that? Well, there it is. I mean, the math, you have two different kinds of people. I don't care what the math says. Math is a made up thing. And then you have these other people, show me the math. So you have these two totally opposite viewpoints coming in on the same questioning the same research. So you've shown it in reality, not just with the math, but a pictorial version to, show people a visual. This is what you have if you have this, right?
Yeah. I know. Did you ever watch that movie called Jagged Edge with Glenn Close and I don't know who the guy was. Was it Kurt Russell or somebody like that?
I think I did a very long time ago, but I really don't remember it.
Well, I forget the male actor, but Glenn Close was playing his lawyer, and this guy, was on charges of murder, killing lots of women and stuff like that.
Oh, I think I do. Okay, I kind of remember that better now. Yeah.
How they eventually found him out, she found him out, was because some of the letters that had been sent had a wonky key. I forget what key it was, but she found his typewriter and found it had got the same wonky key, which gave him away.
Right.
And that's what's given this map away, is that they're using a typeface that wasn't invented for another 40 years. And that would stand up in a court of law. They are using typeface that's not only are they totally different, but one hasn't been invented yet. That is pretty conclusive evidence in my book. I always said it was a forgery when I saw the original.
Right.
There was nothing different about it. And, that one that was released 2 years away, it's a fucking psyop. It's so obvious. So what else I was looking at? Have you ever wondered, Laurie, about when they talk about nautical miles and knots? And why would they have nautical miles and knots?
Okay. That's another one of those things I haven't had the time yet to question.
Well, I thought I'd have a quick look into it
because
today.
I'm not a sailor. I always think of that as sailing and flying. So
yeah. It makes you wonder, because we know we're on a flat Earth, why are they using a measurement which would only apply? I'll read this out for the podcast people. It says here, a nautical mile is a unit of measurement used on water by sailors and or navigators in shipping and aviation. It is the average length of 1 minute of 1 degree along a great circle of the Earth. 1 nautical mile corresponds to 1 minute of latitude. Thus, degrees of latitude are approximately 60 nautical miles apart. By contrast, the distance of nautical miles between degrees of longitude is not constant, because lines of longitude become closer together as they converge at the poles. Well, obviously on our map, where do the lines of longitude converge? At the poles. Mm-hmm. Nautical miles are typically abbreviated with the symbols NM or NMI. For example, 60 NM represents 60 nautical miles. So the history of this, up until 1929, there was not an internationally agreed upon distance or definition for the nautical mile. But it goes back to the days when they were what they were doing. They would hang out some pieces of knotted string from sailing ships, and the number of knots falling into the water over a given period determine the knots per hour. So the knot is actually 1,853 feet, which is it's about 1.15 times more than a mile. But I was thinking about this, maybe when these sailors started getting lost and they were using knots, when in reality it's on a flat Earth. Maybe this was throwing their distances out. I'm just mooting that around my head at the moment to see whether that could have any impact. So we've got miles, knots, and nautical miles. I don't know why they're using them. I think it's maybe that they have to use them because they have to assume that we're living on a ball. And the Great Circle routes, I don't know whether they're used or not. That might be another, false thing that they say we use, but in reality they're going to fly in a straight line. Because obviously on a flat Earth, a Great Circle route could add, 15% to the distance, and that would add 15% more fuel, which is an expensive commodity. Are they really, wasting fuel to go on routes that are not necessary? I don't know. It could be part of the PSYOP and a price well worth paying. I wouldn't know. Anyway, I'll come out of that, and I'll let you have your.
Okay, I have something. This is just a quick cursory look at type font, and so this is a brief history of type, and since it's difficult to cover all of the developments and movements of typography in a short space, my separation of evolving technologies from the development of typefaces is an artificial one. Designs and the technology used to create them are not truly separable, but perhaps it is conceptually useful. Where names of typefaces are used, I attempt to use the original name. There are often clones with very similar names. I shall update, clarify, and correct this essay periodically, and will be happy to credit contributors. I can be emailed on CompuServe, blah, blah, blah. So here it talks about type technology, the 4 revolutions. So it has the Gutenberg, and so that was the impact of printing beginning in 1450 to 1480. And it talks about the Gutenberg method of printing, and usually people remember Gutenberg because of the Bible, the Gutenberg Bible. Before that, Bibles literally were hand copied. We're using scribes. That's where the word comes from. But anyway, the Industrial Revolution, steam, line casting, and automated punch cutting start 1870 to 1895 and end 1950 to 1965. So it talks about points of fonts and scaling and all that stuff. So people should maybe, and all I did was ask a question, in my search engine, how many fonts were there in 1892? And so here it talks about punch cutting in 1885 and so on. And photo composition called intertype didn't start until 1950, 1960. So the original type fonts, I would say there were not that many, because each one of those letters had to be made. But I'm going to do some more research on this. It's talking about petite text by the French, testino by the Italians, naming different types. It also talks about refinements to types and so on and so forth. So how many 72 points to the inch and all that. So I think anyone who disputes what Lawrence is talking about here about typefaces should do some research on what came first, the chicken or the egg, or the Gleason or the Times New Roman.
Yeah. All right. Well, while we're on that, let me bring that one back up again. Let's take a look around that map while we're online, and you can talk about it while it's on air. And we'll have a look at the typeface throughout that, and I'll type over it the same words, and we'll see whether they match up. So we've done one. So let me get the screen back again, because people at home might not be able to do this. So let's bring that up again.
How about itchy nose? Wow.
There we go. So we've got that one up again. Okay. So
I'm going to share this full screen. Okay.
The new standard map of the world and longitudinal map to their Times New Roman, and then you've got some other fonts over here that just looks like block capitals. Let's see if we can find any more Times New Roman. They've got Roman numerals around the edge.
Yeah, you would have to look at the numbers of the. Typically, any font that has letters also has numbers, so you would have to be able to verify or cross-reference the numbers to go with it. Of course, these aren't numbers; these are letters. the V and the I and the X are letters. They're not numbers. So, but there are numbers on here.
Yeah,
but
the
letters,
map of the world.
the
I
words,
I'll put that on there because that looks like Times New Roman, and let's see what that goes on. Let's just stick that on there, and I'll type in New Standard Map of the World, and people, all the viewers can actually compare the difference. So go on.
You'd have to put that in bold.
Okay, font, I'll put it on as bold as I can, yeah. So I'll find Times New Roman on here. Oops, sorry, that's Arial Black. Times New Roman. All right, let's make it bold.
Okay.
So, New Standard Map of the World. Oops, need to make that text bigger. Otherwise, it's coming out so small.
Yeah.
There we are. That's as big as it'll come out on here. New Standard Map of the World.
Yeah, that's not the same font. It's close, but it's not it.
It looks the same to me. Let me do the longitude and latitude time calculator on the side.
The R is different. It's got a rounded off leg to the R.
I don't know. I think they're identical, Laurie. Let me do the one on the left-hand side.
You'll have to go back, Lawrence, and look at it in the replay for you to be able to see that it's slightly different. But everybody has a little bit better or worse eye at looking at things like that. But that doesn't mean they're the same font, is the point. Where it says longitude and time calculator does not look like the same font as New Standard Map of the World. That looks like an older font.
That's because it's in lighter thing. But if I type it in, longitude and time, I'm going to largen this up. We'll have a look at this big, and you can look at these letters big, yeah, and people will be able to make their own mind up. So I've got longitude and time calculator there. So I can just move that down a little bit.
Okay, can I insert something here though, Lawrence, please?
Yeah, what would you like?
What I'd like to say is whether or not the font's exactly the same or not, anybody who has Photoshop capabilities can take any font and make it longer, taller, wider, tighter in Photoshop. So they could change it ever so slightly to make it look like a different font than the original.
Yeah.
So perhaps somebody was smart enough to know that somebody would be smart enough to know, oh, you know what? Now that you're this close, Lawrence, I see those stars that are under new and map and whatever. Yeah. One says south, one says east, or one says S, one says
okay.
East.
All right. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger again. And we're going to go through this one letter at a time now, Laurie, because I think this is important. As long as we can get them on the same page. I'm
just telling you from my point of view, this font is
all right. So let's look at the L.
Stretched.
Okay, the L has got a cross member across the top coming down. This has got a cross member across the top coming down and thicker. And then to the left of the L, there's a bit sticking out. There is on here. And then the L curves up and round like that, and it does on that one. Okay. The O is widened in the middle, thicker in the middle, as it is on that one, and narrower at the top and bottom. The ends have got tops. They're topped and tailed, apart from the corner, which just goes to the point. So the ends all match up. The G has got that bit on the end like that, and the bit coming up at the top with a cross member as well. The I has got cross members across the top and the bottom. The T has got the two bits pointed down.
I agree 100% with you, Lawrence, that these style of font is very, very close. I am going to go on record, though, as saying the one on the Gleason map has been stretched compared to the one that you're using. And if I could grab your cursor and go into Photoshop and stretch the one that you have in front of you, it would look the same. or much closer, is what
But if you look at every letter, where there's a feature of the letter, where there's a bit on the top and the way it comes around,
at the features, yes, I agree. The features of the letters are the same.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I checked it out. I haven't looked at this scientifically proven correct. And what is the font on that? That is going to be. That's block letters. Is that a different one again?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that one. So I don't know. People at home, you go and check these fonts out. You can just download this map.
They have several different fonts on this map, which is unusual in and of itself for the time that this was created.
Yeah,
they wouldn't have had so many fonts, I don't think.
The project here is, for those of you at home who are interested in doing some research, go and look at all the different fonts used on the Gleason map. And then look into the history of those fonts. It's just basic Google searches. Find out when they first came into use, and if it was after 1892, it's just further evidence that the map is a forgery. As it is, the diamond. So, what have we got? Any guests tonight, Laurie? Coming on.
I've sent invites to a couple of people, but I'm not really sure if they're going to be able to make it or not.
Your sound's gone. Laurie, your sound's gone. Your sound had gone.
I sound what?
He sounds a bit low at my end.
That's because I was leaning away from the microphone to look to see if I got a message from anyone that I had invited. Our friend who watches every show, Jason Campbell, says a couple comments here. He says speed conversions, not miles per hour, kilometers per hour. And then he tells us what the different conversions are: 11.15 to 1.85. I'd have to put that. I'd have to print that in the on a comment or something on the video. And then a nautical mile is based on the circumference of the Earth and is equal to 1 minute of latitude. It is slightly more than a statute land measured mile. 1 nautical mile equals 1.1508. I hate it when this thing goes dark. Statute miles. Nautical miles are used for charting and navigating, which we knew. Thank you so much, Jason. Always appreciate your jumping in and helping. So one of the things that I also wanted to add to the discussion today is the fact that there not only are we rampant in the flat earth community / movement, whatever vernacular you use. I don't use the word movement very much anymore because I don't consider I forgot to take you off full screen. I don't consider this a movement any more than I would consider the let's take over the government as a movement. So because in order for something to be a movement, there has to be sort of some cohesion of where we're moving to. And I started talking about this probably in March or April of last year, actually. So I'm over a year talking about the same kinds of things. And in my opinion, Lawrence and I are both on record as having said that we believe that the current version of the flat earth movement, or whatever you call it, that was started about 2 years ago, was introduced as a PSYOP, as a controlled opposition PSYOP, for the purpose of, if you want to control the direction that something goes, you start it yourself. And so as many people who have followed the Occupy movement of a few years back, or the civil rights movement of a few years prior to that, they can testify that some of the same similarities happened with those two movements as has begun to happen or happened from the get-go with the Flat Earth movement. And that is that the controlled opposition was in place when the thing got kicked off, and it was quiet enough at the beginning that nobody really understood that that's what was happening or saw it. Because when you first get involved in something like flat earth research and you hear about it, you're very excited. You go through a serious amount of sort of a little bit of cognitive dissonance mixed in with the idea that, you know, I need to look into everything and I need to question everything, and then you question your previous worldview, and then you start to pull out things that you used to believe and replace them with new things that you now believe. And so what happened along the way is that there were these controlled opposition people put in place. I'm done naming names. I think most people at this point who have been seriously researching for a year or more know fully well who I'm talking about. And there are new ones being introduced all along the way as we progress through this thing, because when you have people like Lawrence and I who question everything, including the flat earth dogma, then we create a ripple that requires the opposition to insert some new actors, some new script in may have already been put in place and written and decided upon well in advance, knowing humans well enough to know, well, there's going to be a few out there who aren't going to just follow the script, and they're going to make some waves, and they're going to ask some questions and cause some problems for us. So enter people like Lawrence and myself and some others. We're not the only ones doing this questioning. I can testify to that because Lawrence sends me links all the time of other YouTubers who are doing a lot of the same questioning. And so, and interestingly enough, many of the things that we talk about on our show and that we question, within a week or two, some of the other unnamed flat earth YouTubers start talking about it too. So either they, one of two things is happening. Either they heard about it or somebody turned them on to the things that we're discussing on our show and they took it on themselves to do the same thing, or there is some kind of a consciousness repository that this same information gets glitched out to different people at the same time or close to the same time, and they pick up on it. So anyway, the idea is that you add to what I showed you earlier in the show about, you know, all you have to do is Google these search words, buy, likes, and views, B-U-Y, not B-Y, B-U-Y, likes and views, and you'll come up with somewhere between 30 and 40 pages of agencies, groups, people, individuals, companies, whatever, that will sell you for a pretty cheap price, all things considered, YouTube likes, Twitter likes, followers, Instagram likes, all kinds of stuff, Facebook likes. And so the problem is they're not organic. Okay. They aren't real, meaning they're bot programs of multiple accounts that have been created over the last 10 years of Facebook. And some of these accounts have 30, 40, 50,000 sub accounts in them. And all they have to do is click a button and all of those accounts will go in and like this video. okay, or subscribe to this channel. And they're never going to watch your videos. They're never going to hear your information. They aren't real. So what's happening is people are being confused that, well, if this person has 50,000 views or 100,000 views on this video, it must be good. It must be pretty true. Then they go and read all the comments or some of the comments and realize that some of the people that are doing all this commenting are also bot accounts, which is interesting in and of itself. People like Tim Osman, who has multiple accounts and goes in and writes a whole bunch of comments under your YouTube video that debunk or knock down or, you know, say, yeah, you're right, or whatever it is that they're trying to promote at that particular time. So what this has caused is division upon division upon division within the flat earth community, okay? And there are now, used to be, when I first got involved, there were flat earthers and globers, okay? And then it became globe trolls and globe bunches of different names, because globe tards and all that, okay? But they were still globers. But then inside the flat earth community, there became domer, no domer, infinite planar, non-infinite planar. You know, every different AE mapper or diamond mapper or square earther or convex, concave. I mean, there's so many different divisions of each segment of flat earth now, that to get people to agree on a map or a model almost seems impossible to me at this point, because if they aren't looking, they're not going to see it. If they're not interested because they've already made up their mind on what they choose to believe, because that was either the first thing they saw and they imprinted on it like a baby duck imprints on its mother and follows it around no matter where she goes. So if you have imprinted your belief system in flat earth, then and you are not looking at any of the information that we're questioning, then there's really no point in continuing to be a flat earther, because as time goes by, very, very quickly, you're going to discover that you're going to be left in the dust. The rest of us are going to move on, and then you're going to be sort of like an archaic flat earther. And not because you don't believe what we believe, but because you don't question what we're presenting. So I just want to say that because I haven't really said that in a while, and not quite in that way. And do I believe in a dome? No, not in any kind of a dome that people show me with regards to Skiba's Yahweh's Terrarium or Sargent's Truman Show Enclosed World, or you know, some of the people who have continued to use the same excuses or suppositions for why there is a dome, like sundogs and rainbows and all that stuff. Okay, I'm so beyond that at this point that I don't, it's like they're talking in slow motion. So we're trying very hard to bring people along with us on our journey, on what we're questioning, but we're not going to wait for people to catch up. We're going to keep going. And we're also going to keep questioning our own suppositions that we've had before, because we've already found where we've had errors in our own judgment from early on. And on top of that, do Lawrence and I agree with on every single thing? No, not necessarily. I was accused the other day in a thread on Facebook, you just love on everything Lawrence says, and you're just, what are you in love with that guy? And so it's like, no, I do a show with Lawrence week after week. We've been doing it for a long time. You do get quite a bit of a familiarity with a person, but Lawrence lives in UK and I live in Florida. Lawrence has a significant other and I have a significant other. And do we laugh and kid around and make jokes and so on? Yeah. Do we act pretty, friendly? Sure. But do we agree wholeheartedly on everything? You just heard me say, I don't know, Lawrence, about that font. It's just a little bit different. He could talk over me all he wanted, but that wouldn't change my opinion of it. Okay. The same thing about a few weeks ago about goats. I mean, I couldn't quickly grasp what he was talking about with the elevation drop in the earth being different than the curvature mathematics of spherical trigonometry. They're not the same thing. We're talking about apples and oranges again. But why people get angry when you present a new idea still mystifies me. Why anybody has anything to get angry about, I absolutely don't understand, because you're just acting like globers who get angry when you question their globe. And it happens all the time. And it's nothing I can explain other than you have to be getting stuck with the same dogma that a glober is stuck with, the same indoctrination you got when you became a flat earther as you were when you were in the kindergarten or first grade of elementary school when you learned about the globe in the first place, and you've been hanging on to it all your life. The same thing with Lawrence's globe showing the elevation drop last week. There was somebody that posted in the Facebook group, meanwhile at the equator, and it had a guy standing on the ocean going like this, and he was standing on a rock jutting out. It's obviously photoshopped because you couldn't stand the way he was standing, but people were like, oh, that's ridiculous. You guys are pushing, you're making flat earthers look stupid and so on and so forth. And nothing could be further from the truth. We're making globers look stupid, not flat earthers. So that's my little dissertation for this week's show. And
okay, Laurie. Well, it's funny you should say that, but yes, viewers, Laurie has got no plans to move to the UK as Patricia Steer is doing. It's quite funny, actually, because Patricia Steer is moving to the town where I live for most of my life, and it's only about 30 miles from where I am now, but I won't be going round for drinks. I won't be meeting up with her for a coffee, but yeah, it's pretty bizarre, isn't it? I've just had a Skype message from Event Skeptic, and I've had quite a long chat with him this week, and he's come up with some new evidence about Masonic halls and them actually hiding the diamond-shaped work there. He has that. I haven't got much more to put out tonight, though. Event Skeptic asked to join us. I think it'd be a good idea to send him a link. I've sent it to your Facebook account. He's got some good stuff, if you can do that. And then rather than letting him do a full presentation, we need to break it down into bite-sized points and talk about it rather than just running the whole thing. So if you want to send him the link, I've sent it to his email.
All right, let me.
So yeah, Event Skeptic's been sort of unfriended and sidelined with all the people he normally associates with on Flat Earth because these people are still in the circle camp.
Well, I was wondering for a while what happened to him. I asked him to be on a couple of different shows, and he went missing in action. So not to have anybody's opportunity or chance, I'm going to.
There we go.
Oh, there he is. Okay, he's in. All right, he's got his camera off. Can you hear us, Ronnie?
Yep. Am I coming in?
Yep. Give yourself a little more volume.
1 second. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep. Got you now.
Okay, hi. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
Long-time
Ronnie,
listener.
I know you've got this presentation. If you can just run it in bite-sized chunks and then stop every few minutes and we can chat about what you've presented so we can, try and make,
Okay.
the viewers,
Um,
some of it might go a bit over their heads, so we'll try and give our interpretation of it and you can answer any questions we may have.
Great. I'd love to. So I'm going to screen share. You tell me when you're ready.
Yeah, you go ahead, mate, yeah.
Okay. Is there an end or a beginning to a globe? I'm going to ask my two gracious hosts here. Do you believe there is an end or a beginning to a globe?
No.
No.
No. Well, it's pretty much known that there isn't any, and then you'll have in the scriptures, which I do believe truth can be found, it states it 28 times, the ends of earth. So right off the bat, we've already got 28 contradictions towards a globe and an AE projection style map. Okay, let's keep on moving here. Okay, in the sky, we have what is called the Great Square, which is an oblate, or I guess the diamond, basically. And you can see this in the northern hemisphere quite well in the months of August. The Great Square of Pegasus, jumping off point, is also how they measure and map out the sky. Did you guys know that?
No, that's very interesting.
Yeah, and, I believe. Sorry, go ahead.
Ronnie, do you think those four diamonds signify the sort of four corners of the earth?
You're correct. That's where I'm going with this. With anything that I research, though, it takes forever to come up with a conclusion.
Do you think they are over the four corners of the earth, directly over?
Yes,
yeah.
I think during the September rising and setting with the sun, just after September here, the mid-September, I believe that is how the Masons or whoever it was that started that tradition mapped out the sky on the floor. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I can keep on moving along here. This is the free energy. Yeah, I broke it down really quick. This is the free energy map. Can you see it, Lori? Everything's clear?
Yep.
So basically the problem that I found, which I was unable to reconcile with the AHE map, was the fact that on the equator, you can observe the shadow of the sun moving directly from east to west. And unfortunately, with a circling sun over a round earth, you would always have a shadow casting like a clock arm, or how the hour goes around the clock. You guys are well aware of this.
Yeah, Ronnie, I had a bit of a discussion with your friend Chris. Do you know Chris? That he went on his show and did a presentation.
Yep.
And apparently and I listened to the show, he doesn't get that, but it's so obvious. If you've got a sun that's circling any point, you're never going to get straight line shadows. They're always going to be on the move around a sundial. And that's why they've got equatorial sundials. Ask Chris, why do equatorial, because he's probably watching this, if you're listening, Chris, please tell us why equatorial sundials exist. Why don't they have conventional sundials out there? And if you research that, then you'll have your answer. It's because the sun moves in a straight line between Cancer and Capricorn at different times of the year, and at that times, a regular sundial don't work, so they need the equatorial one.
Basically, yeah, you're bang on, and even this exact diagram here that Free Energy's got, who does great work, which I know you guys have also been promoting and shared with me. This kind of explains why we could have such things as the Coriolis effect that's noticeable with winds. It shows the sun's path in a straight line from east to west. Now, you could turn this corner to the north and such, right? When we're talking about shapes, that there's different perspectives when looking at a square. It could be a diamond, it could be a rectangle, different angles, correct?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people maybe should do a little bit of investigation into shapes and sizes if they're flat earthers, because it's a very important thing. So what Free Energy has here could also be interpreted in a diamond shape with the perspective going downwards, as you and Lawrence have both really well explained with your maps. Just amazing what you guys have, how you guys have done that with the flight paths and the diamond shape. Remember, perspective is pyramids in all directions, right?
Right.
Kind of hard to get to. So now we're moving on to P-Brain, who's someone that I used to really enjoy his work. I don't know if either one of you have got a peek of this yet.
I was a big follower of P-Brain because he initially did some really great work on the time-lapse photography and showing the direction of the sun, coming and going and that kind of thing. But he has stayed solidly on the AE map.
Well, yeah. To me, it's almost to the point now where it's either personal or there's some sort of monetary investment that have been made here. There's no other.
It's hard to deny why anybody at this point would still be making videos with the AE map as their model.
Yeah, well, right here he's depicting different perspectives. They're stuck with this North Polaris. Now he's showing a bowl and an upside down bowl, and he's got this turned and crooked and like falling off a pizza falling off a pie. He's got the stars moving east to west, like let's say Antonio would suggest in an umbrella. There's a huge problem with all of this, and basically what I started the presentation off with Free Energy's video, it clearly states that the shadow, see, as the sun and stars move to the right or the left. I mean, on this map there is no right or left, but your shadow in.
There's only north, and then everything from north to south in one way, shape, or form,
Yeah, there's no northeast, there's no west or east either. It's just circle upon circle. But as you can see, if you were in South America and the sun was swinging by on the equator, it would circle. The shadow would never go straight. Now he's tried to reconcile this. You guys gotta see this. I gotta show this to the viewers here, because this is just some work. The way he's I don't know what he's trying to say with the stars, but where's the diagram? This is just okay. Here it is. This is just unbelievable.
Oh, he's moving the dome around, the little dome around with it.
Yeah. Well, okay. That's a person's perspective. Their body circle body of light, which Free Energy does explain.
Okay.
So here's my problem. So if this is the moon he's got here, you see he's trying to represent it as it circling and going straight at the same time. These two things are impossible. I'll just play that again so you can see.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my mind around that. So in other words, this isn't all happening simultaneously. This is happening for each individual in their own little circle, right? I'm not supposed to be able to see the other people, just one at a time. Okay.
He's promoting the fact that the sun does travel straight from your perspective, and then it turns and travels straight from this person's perspective when it gets to that part of its concentric circle.
Well, that would, but then all he's doing is making squares. In actuality, he's squaring the circle, right?
Well, yeah, he's circled the square is what he's done.
Yeah. Okay. Is he a Freemason?
Obviously not.
Is that one of their sayings? Square the circle, or square the circle.
Well, if I pull up,
I don't mean anything negative by that. I'm sure that P-Brain has a reason for sticking with trying to create ad hoc reverse engineered theories for why he can make his model work.
Yeah, I'll get back to squaring the circle in 1 minute. Now, we've all seen, this is one of your most prominent flat earthers here. We got Mr. Eric Dubay. This is just great. In this image here, he's completely debunked his entire existence on YouTube by stating that Polaris is the so-called. Where's Polaris? Polaris is indicated here by the white rings. Where's Polaris here, Lawrence? If you're there, or Lori.
Polaris is over the North Pole.
Okay, but where in this depiction would it be located?
Off center, obviously. On I don't even know what direction I'm looking at. Is he trying to create sound waves, sine waves out of the?
Well, no, he's got someone who's taking a picture close to the equator.
Oh, he's drawing those lines. Okay, I'm closer now. I can see that he's drawing the lines in the star trails. Okay.
So these would be your east to west, the actual path, and these would be the Arctic and the Antarctic rings, basically.
Oh my goodness.
But this is almost a more valid representation. So you see the tilt, and you can see where Polaris is, right? So basically, if you were on the equator, these lines that you're looking at, the yellow ones, would be parallel. They would be straight up and down. And the other two, the North and the South Pole, which very well could be the corners of your diamond-shaped map, would be projected almost touching the horizon equally, right?
Right.
So what Eric Dubé has done is he's admitted with this picture, which might be the only real one he has in this video, that there are definitely two antipodes or two poles throughout our reality.
Right.
When you go back
how
to
would
his
that work on the AE map?
It doesn't.
Well, there you go.
You know, you've got people coming up with it doesn't exist. The South Pole is just a reflection, like what do they say, a disco ball?
Yeah, on the dome. I've actually even heard people lately saying that star trail time-lapse photos are photoshopped, that they're not real. I've actually heard people saying that lately because they can't make the star trails work on the AE map.
Well, if you haven't noticed, Lori, the new gravity has become perspective.
Right.
So Eric's stating, so it looks like the second pole, but in reality it's just a massive perspective wrap due to the scale of the actual sky. Well, the problem, Eric, is if we travel to Australia, the perspective, there's still going to be the circling of the South Pole without the so-called perspective wrapping.
Well, it says warp, not wrap.
Oh, sorry, warp.
But I get what he's saying there. He warped, right?
I think he meant wrapped, but he put warped.
Well, I don't know. Either word doesn't work, but that's okay. I have debunked Dubé, otherwise known to me as Shillboy, quite some time ago. So anything he says just like through the brain and out the other ear.
So
this is more of the circle of light perspective from free energy, what you were just showing there.
Oh yeah, this is a video that I made because
so I see, now you're going through a video again. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to show you about squaring the circle. So if we were to try and make a representation of Earth, we would need to have a few things that would line up, right? We would need the tropics, we would need a north and a south and an east and a west. So what this gentleman has done, I don't know whether he's a Mason or not, well, he's projected onto the floor of so-called masonry temples and churches, and basically, I believe Washington, D.C., I think they all kind of go with this floor plan. As you can see, it has four quarters.
The tabernacle floor plan?
As well as the tabernacle, as well as the breastplate of the high priests that did the ceremonies back in. So you see the tropics, the line of Cancer, the line of Capricorn, and the equator, and the center would be the master square. Now this is where everything becomes fascinating. So you can understand here, Lori and Lawrence, that if I were to play the sun, moon, and all of the stars as they travel from east to west over this exact floor, you wouldn't believe the pictures that show up. Basically, you can draw the flower of life. You can draw, and these are the actual, so when Mercury, I'll go back to that image again. So Mercury has the most outer path between east and west, and it draws a pentagram. When it passes between the sun and the Earth's view of the master square, you put a mark, and you'd put a mark at this time of year when it crosses, and basically you get all the different shapes, sizes, and so what they've done is, in my opinion, they have created a false Earth by using this formula to map it out.
Okay.
I could care less whether they're Satanists. I'm not a Mason. I don't care about them. But the fact that, all of this stuff matches perfectly with what you guys have been working on with free energies. The fact that, let's say, New Jerusalem, all Christians and people that read the Bible should understand that it's given in cubic measurements in a cube shape, as well as the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, and all the top religions basically have a square, a cube, as one of their icons.
Yeah. So,
I don't know how I did it, but I went through a great deal of my life before I ever saw the little headdress thing that the Jewish little black cube on the forehead. Yeah. I either never noticed it or I paid attention or just literally never saw it until, I don't know, maybe about a year or so ago. And I was like, well, I'll be damned. Look at that. Another one of those black cubes in a different religion.
Yeah. It's incredible. They wear that, I believe it's something to do with pain or I don't even know. Do you know anything about that, Lawrence?
About the black cube on the headdress?
Yeah, there's that big black cube at Mecca, so I'm sure all this stuff is connected. When we chatted in the week,
all the Abrahamic offshoot religions have a black cube as one of their religious icons, whether it's something involved in their rituals or is worshipped, I guess you would even call it.
I think I could screen share it. And the other thing about the cube or the diamond-shaped perspective is the fact that there are 4 cardinal directions with all those shapes. That the head tefillin has all 4 texts written on a single parchment strip, but the head tefillin has 4 separate compartments with a single text in each. So it's basically shading out to the northeast and the south and the west, in my opinion.
Right. Well, and when you unfold it, I guess, it makes this elongated cross.
That's right.
Yeah.
And speaking of the cross, which is really interesting, I believe if you look into ancient Egyptian lore and what they were promoting back then, the northern and southern pole stars were actually a representation of waters that ran across the path of the sun, the moon, and the stars. So actually, the Earth might be a cross shape.
I've also heard that.
But the Earth that we stand on, which is also interesting, that the Chinese still to this day have a circle with a square punched out of it. I don't know if you two have seen that.
Yeah.
And even the book.
What we talk about when we use the term Earth, okay, I think it's pretty compelling to make sure that people understand, or I compel people to understand that we're not talking about anything more than the realm that we have inhabited up to this point. And that is the mapped, usable, navigable Earth. And in Scripture, Earth originally meant the dirt part. It doesn't mean a planet. It means the soil. It means the land. It doesn't mean the water even. It just means the land. And so, anyway, the whole idea of the Earth that Lawrence has plotted out on the diamond map is that Earth we know of, or that we have explored and been allowed to see at this point.
Yeah, I totally fall in line with the research that you guys have been doing, and I think it falls short of divinely inspired. I don't throw that word out too much because there's so many false prophets that go around preaching and accepting donations. And one thing I have noticed about you and Lawrence is you've always both been very humble, yet angry about the truth. I think it's valid that you guys come across that way, and it's really hard to come up with things that people just don't want to hear the truth. How do you guys find that?
Yeah,
Well,
Ronnie, can I say something, Ronnie? I've got an interesting point here. I just need to, Ronnie, can I just share the screen? Hold on a second. And Laurie and Ronnie, will you just humour me here, because I want to ask you a question. Both there? Yeah, just bear with me. Mm-hmm. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Laurie. Okay. Laurie, can you see this picture of the AE map?
Sure.
Okay. Now I want you to put your head back on before you became aware of the PSYOP to give us a false model. Can you remember back those days?
Sure.
Okay. Now you've just found out about the flat Earth map, and you've seen your lovely round model with a circling sun, and everything looks really nice, and got no reason to question it. And you've met me in the bar somewhere, or at the tennis club, or wherever. We're having a chat over coffee, and you're telling me about the flat Earth, and I say, oh, that's very interesting. Can you show me what it looks like? So you show me this AE map, and I say, oh, right. So can you tell me where north, south, east, and west are on there, please? So what are you going to tell me?
You got me, buddy. That's what I can't tell you. There's only north, which is center, and everything
all right. North in the center.
South. That's all I can tell you.
All right. So we're going to put north in the center. Just to get it. Hang on. North in the center. Okay. And where's east?
Well, naturally,
there?
normally are used to thinking of east as to the right.
Right, but aren't they saying that everywhere from the North Pole going away is south?
Yes.
So south is also east?
Kinda.
So where would you like to...
You can understand now why I questioned it.
Where would east be?
Well, to the right is all I could tell you, of north.
All right. So you're taking a flyer here because you don't want to lose face. So you'd say, well, all right, it's east there. Are we having west over on the other side?
Well, yeah, that would be normal.
Okay, so that's west. Oops. And where would south be?
Everywhere where the ice ring is.
Well, no, it can't be everywhere. Because you've already told me west is on the north side of the ice ring, and there.
I'm so sorry. This is so silly, but I love the exercise of,
All right. So, all right. You're going to say it's down to the south then. Let's assume it was down there.
Well, I've always been told that
let's look. You were trying to look convincing. Can you tell them south is there? Okay. All right. Hang on. Right. Okay. So, and whereabouts is? What's at the top here? What direction would that be?
Well, that's south too.
Got 4 cardinal directions here. So right at the top at 12 o'clock. What direction is that, Laurie?
It's south too, Lawrence.
Can you tell me what direction that is?
I'm trying to tell you. That would be also south.
South to the power of 2.
So we got south in 2 directions, but west and east only in 1.
Well, no, because we're all screwed up now because it doesn't work.
Okay, so that's south. Okay, so you're saying that's south as well. Okay. That's fine. Right. Now, Ronnie, I'd like you to do part 2 of the exercise. So are you with me?
Yep.
Okay, mate. Right. So I'm a navigator now, and I'm using this map, which is very accurate, as you know. Let me just change the fucking colour of that if I can. How hard is it to change colour? All right. Yeah, you can see that. Okay. So, Ronnie, I'm in Australia, over here somewhere near Sydney or whatever, and I want to sail around the world. So can you give me directions? Which direction do I go first?
Well, I guess you'd want to go north.
North. Okay, so I'm heading towards the middle. Yeah.
Oh no, not that north. I mean
No,
north,
not that north.
north south,
Hang on.
south to the
south.
two,
Minute.
the second south.
These are the questions that are going to get answered. Hang on a minute.
You want to go southwest?
Right, so I'm in Australia. This is where I am. Which way am I going? North, south, east, or west?
Left.
Southwest.
Which way is it?
It's left.
Which direction is that?
That would be while facing outwards to your left hand.
West. Okay, so
West.
we want to go west. Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that Laurie's got the directions right. Now, which way do I go?
Okay, now you go west again.
Which way is it now, Ronnie?
You want to go southwest.
Yeah, you want to go south to the one. South one.
South. Okay, I'm going south, yeah.
No, the other south.
The other south. How do I know which south it is when I'm in my boat?
Well, Ronnie said south one, not south two.
Sorry, excuse me, Ronnie, but my compass only has one south.
Well, you got to get the Australian one, mate.
Right, so do I head north then?
Kinda
You don't want
northwest.
me to go that way. Let me take that one back. So I'm there. Which way do I go then?
Down.
You want me to head north?
Northwest.
You want me to head towards the north? Yeah, okay. I've gone north, yeah.
Okay.
Now which way?
You're doing good. Okay, now you want to go
South.
south. South one.
I've got to go around the world. So which way now?
South
go east.
1.0.
You've got to go around South America. So which way are we going to go?
East.
East. Okay, so we go east. And now which way is it?
No, that's west.
No, yeah, we've
Okay.
got to go west to go around South America. Now which way do we go?
South one.
South.
South? That
No,
way.
the other south.
That's south, isn't it? No? Okay. The other south. South
Oh my
two.
God! You know what? I'm already so badly.
Okay,
seeing
so
this
I've gone
playback,
south.
and I'm
I've gone
laughing
down
my
here.
butt off.
Now which way do I go?
East.
East.
East. Okay, that's east. Now which way?
South.
South.
Yeah, I go. No, the other south.
The other south. Okay, we don't know which one that is on my compass. I'm getting very confused here. You want me to go the opposite? You want me to go north? Well, north is that way, and south
No,
is
I
that
want you to
way.
go
So which
south.
way is it?
Yeah.
We've hit a problem. We've hit a circling spiral of
We'll
death.
go that way. All right, so we got to the bottom. Which way now is it?
Don't fall off the edge, Lawrence.
East.
East. Okay, so east is that way, yeah. Now which way?
Okay. More east. East up.
East
Which way?
south. East south to the second.
East.
Now which way?
South to the second.
We're at 5 o'clock on this map. Which way is it now?
You want to go to 3 o'clock.
Is it north?
No. Yeah. No. Yeah, kind of.
You
Northeast.
want me to go north?
Northeast.
Ronnie?
Yes. Yes.
North. So I'm heading towards the North Pole that way, yeah?
No.
That's
not
north.
that.
That's north, isn't it? To the North Pole. Isn't that?
Okay.
So you don't want me to go north then? Which way is it then?
East.
East. That's going off the map.
No, it's
Don't
going
go
up.
that way.
It's going up to the east.
You want me to go north?
Yeah, you see,
Well, that's north that way.
we
isn't
see
it?
the problem, Lawrence, okay? We see the problem, and hopefully at this point, everybody else does too, because if you were tried to give directions to somebody leaving Australia, and they were going to go from the west coast of Australia to the east coast of Australia, they would have this horrific map to go around. And they're, how do you give them directions? So
Yeah.
Thank you. That was comical and scary and ridiculous and shameful
Let me ask
that
you a
we're still
question.
there.
If you were a sailor or a navigator and you had to use that map, do you think you'd get lost?
Absolutely.
Ronnie, do you think you'd get lost with that map, mate?
Oh yeah, there's. It's
So-
incredible.
So if you were a new flat earther and you got that map and you were sat next to me and I didn't know anything about it and you tried to show me north, south, east and west on that map, what am I going to think? I'm going to think this is a pile of crap. And if you showed that to Neil deGrasse Tyson, what's he going to say?
Well, that's
Show
the
us your
point.
map.
Isn't that the point of the completely stupid maps and models for, they've been easy on us so far. I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson with his mic drop and his, little tete-a-tete with Bob and so on and so forth. It's just been an exercise in laughing at this point. But when it gets to the point where there truly is some kind of a debate, we're going to get crucified.
I agree.
And I'll tell you what, all the stuff that I pointed out earlier about this Gleason map being wrong, you ain't going to hear a dicky bird about it on the other channels. They're not even going to mention it, but they'll be watching the show and they'll be saying, they'll be told, whatever you do, don't say fuck all about Laurie and Lawrence's show.
No, they don't want anybody coming over here and listening to any of our stuff. Not in by any stretch, unless, of course, they come with their fully loaded ha Pac-Man, where's your portals, or diamond, we live on a diamond, or what, whatever. They've already got plenty of jokes about us, which in and of itself says a lot, because I mean, I just unfriended a guy a few days ago because he wouldn't let up and he called us clowns. And I've been friends with him since I literally walked in the door of the Flat Earth community. And it was really sad that I was just like, I'm done. I'm not going to listen to this anymore. You can hold on to your magnetism and your circling magnets and your, AE map all you want forevermore. Makes no difference, because, even another friend in the middle of this thread that we were arguing back and forth said to him, okay, nobody disputes magnetism, but have you ever looked into a bar magnet instead of a circular magnet and how they work? And it was like crickets, silence. So
I could share something else with you guys if you'd like. I'd like to kind of debunk Mark Knight from I can't remember his dumb channel where he just makes fun of NASA, which any of us could do. That's the game here, is to just worry about NASA, right?
Mark Knight's channel is Wakey Wakey.
Oh yeah, that's it. Wakey wake everybody back to sleep. So Bromwell states in the letter that I've produced with my video, the depictions of the form and situation of the cosmos, which are the mandalas, the Earth, the central element, is represented always by a square, while the heavens are represented by a circle. Enoch's 9 arches are the planetary spheres and the 9 concentric circles. Each circle has a square inscribed inside of it. When we go over to this cosmic mandalas, that even I believe Eric Dubai has, excuse me, has even talked about. We come down to this one, and what do we have right in the center?
Yeah.
But then this is Meru. Sorry, this isn't Earth. This is Meru.
Yeah, it's Mount Meru.
Yeah, it's Mount Meru. This magical mountain that nobody's ever flown to or heard of. And we keep going on, and you can see that they're constantly depicting the heavenly bodies as circles, while the Earth.
Where is this? Is this on Wakey Wakey?
No, but
okay.
Wakey Wakey. No, this is just a cosmic mandalas page.
It's bothering the crap out of me that they just they circled the square. Right there, you see the center are all squares, step squares. Now go down to the next. There you go. They made circles out of them.
That's what they've done. So each layer of square has a concentric.
That's what I'm talking about. Right there is a perfect example of circling the square instead of squaring the circle.
That's right. Well, everything is reversed. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson jaw dropped us all when he stated that the Earth was an oblate sphere, when really, nudge, nudge, hint, hint, he was telling his other Masons that it's an oblate square, which is a diamond.
Exactly.
So, this is not really debunkable, in my opinion. This Gnosticism or Gnostic knowledge has been around longer than Masons.
Sure.
And people quote Enoch all the time, and they happen to leave out that Enoch thought the Earth to be a square with four corners.
Well, Ned Kelly, who was on a couple of weeks ago, I've seen him putting out memes lately with read Enoch for yourself. Don't watch other people's video depictions of what Enoch says. Take the time to read it for yourself. And you have to read Enoch a couple of times. It's not easy to digest in just one sit down and read, because it's pretty detailed, and but the idea is, and I never thought about it because I've read Enoch. I don't need to watch a video of someone else explaining to me what Enoch says, but I did. Then after Ned warned about that, I did go and watch a couple of people's Enoch videos, and I was actually surprised to see what they omitted or changed up the order, left parts out, added parts in, like I said, out of order, and it matters. It matters in the order of what you're talking, what he's talking about or describing.
Well, I'll leave graciously in the comment section below this video, I will leave links to Enoch 1, 2, and 3, and all the PDF files that I'll link will have explanatory descriptions below the text so people can follow along a little bit more intently.
Okay. For those who have never investigated Enoch at all, let me say to Christians who say that's a non-canonical apocrypha script, book, and is not to be taken as biblical fact or any of that. And some people will go so far as to say you shouldn't even go there. You shouldn't read it. You shouldn't look at it. You should stay to the scripture of the King James Version of the Council of Nicaea approved biblical scripture. And my answer to that is that all of these texts are tools. And if you have been brainwashed into believing that you should be warned off of anything because it is occult, the word in itself is so mistakenly applied. And people use the word occult, and then people immediately think it's of the devil. It's Luciferian. Occult just means hidden. That's all it means.
That's right. And the other thing that's interesting about that is Jesus himself reads or paraphrases from Enoch. Jude and Peter both emphatically point to Enoch. Basically, the entire book, cover to cover, the 66 books, they couldn't hide Enoch from it, but God could. And I've also found that it was supposed to be hidden and brought back for a certain time. And I don't know if you guys have heard of Zen Garcia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took the liberty of telling them, go ahead. Sorry, Lawrence.
Yeah, I listened to his recent show. He's back engineering Enoch to fit the false model.
Well, see, I feel really guilty in this because when he was first being questioned about the flat Earth, I was the one who suggested to him that he would find all the answers in Enoch. But little did I know that he would stop at his projected AE map, because he tries to describe the gates from east and west as being somewhere on that AE map where there is no east or west or north or south, and it's just he's got all these brainwashed people running around YouTube saying he's explained it perfectly when really he's explained the heavenly gates only to a degree. It's such a poor example of Enoch. I just ask that he reconsiders and looks at it because it's wrong.
Well, it seems to me, Ronnie, he's doing that deliberately, and he's another one of the list of disinfo agents on YouTube with regard to the flat Earth. What would you say?
Yeah, well, I enjoy his ability to search all topics, but I don't understand why he stops at the AE map, because Enoch 3 is another book that I found that all these supposed flat water, these guys don't want to read that one because it's all about Metatron and a cube and a square, and definitely 4 cardinal directions is something that's fixed, flat, and reality. And hopefully your listeners, I'm sure your listeners are well aware of this because you and Lawrence have both been doing an excellent job at promoting the truth, and it's crazy how I could hear in back rooms and halls that you guys are the shills and the gatekeepers. And to be on both sides of the coin, I can definitely say the ones who seek truth not for glory, the ones that seek it for truth, are always the ones that get condemned.
Well, sure, and we're completely used to that, and it's water off a duck's back, as I always say, because if I were getting paid, I can think of a lot of other things that I could do for pay. If I were being prompted by somebody to say what I say or go in the direction that we go, I'll give you a perfect example. Today's show is a perfect example of Lawrence being inspired on his own this week. While I'm busy out working, doing painting jobs and all the other things that I was doing, I had no time for research whatsoever. So I was relying on Lawrence at least coming up with something that he could bring new to the table. Does that make me a little lazy? Yeah, but okay. So when I think about the beginning of this show and before we came on air, Lawrence and I were on the pre-show warm-up, and he said, I've got something that you're really going to, like, and you're really good. And I had not heard any of it. He sent me one little picture of something he drew, showing me some measurements and stuff. And he said, I'd like for you to look at this before the show starts. And I had no time, and I didn't really get to delve into it. So was any of today's show planned? No. Are any of our shows planned? No. And it's that simple. We just we meet on a week-to-week basis. We go with what we've been hearing in the weeds during the week, and things that we're inspired to look into in between times. We rarely talk a few messages back and forth in between on Facebook or by email. And there's only one thing I want. I mean, and it's damned if I do and damned if I don't. And Lawrence feels the same way, and that is we just want to know what the truth is. We don't want to be spoon-fed the truth. And if somebody says this is true, you can be sure that either Lawrence or I are going to question what they said. And so if we find that it isn't true, we're going to call it out. And are we being buttheads for doing that? How does that even work? How does that make us buttheads if we're looking for the truth? If we're calling out people who are putting something out that's not true, especially after we've warned them, we don't think this is true. And I use the word warn, where I probably should insert a different word, but I'm talking extemporaneously. I don't have a script. So could I have used an easier word than warn? Because it sounds like, ooh, what are you, the flat earth police? But once we get onto something, we're not going to let it go until we're done with it. We're done chewing it up. And Lawrence can testify to that.
Yeah. Anyway, so, okay, yeah, that's good. I've got something else here. Just a second.
Boy.
Okay.
The pizza's ready.
Right. So, okay. Now you've been told the truth about which map it is. Okay, and this is the one that most meets reality, because if you look at longitude and latitude, they match perfectly with this map in terms of the distance across the map and the distance up and down. The lines of longitude all converge at the poles, as they do with the globe. So, Laurie, back to you again. You're over here. I'll draw a little dot. You've got a little boat there, and I want you to sail around the world. Which way is it going to be this time?
Today I'm going to go west.
West. Okay, well, we'll go up and around these islands. There's some land coming up. Do you want me to deviate?
Yeah, I want you to go south.
South? Southwestish, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, and now which way?
Now I want you to go west again.
West, okay, yeah, and now which way?
Okay, north.
Northwest, yeah.
Northwest.
Yeah. And then west?
And keep going west.
Okay, and then we come out the other side?
Yeah, you come back over there.
Okay, and then we've done it.
And there you are.
Yeah.
Terrific.
That makes sense, because you can actually use the directions on the map to get from A to B. Now, if any of you circle pushers can show me how you can actually circle around that map, God knows where your north, south, east and west are, then you deserve a medal, because that is harder than the Rubik's Cube.
And for those who say, okay, wait a minute, you got to go back because, all of a sudden you went off the edge and you came back in there and they start screaming, Pac-Man, Pac-Man, or whatever, okay? Portals, show us where the portals are. Oh, really? You think you see the portals? You think you feel the portals? You think you're affected by the portals? Because there is no absolutely like a portal, because otherwise everybody would have to all converge at the same place and go through the portal and come back out the other side, okay? And that obviously doesn't happen. So what is east to west and back to east again? As far as I'm concerned, free energy has the same concept. All he needs to do, in my opinion, would make me very happy, would be to put his model, take his model and put the diamond map in it. And when you go from east to west, you come back to east again, because east to west is time. That's all it is.
And you remember, I could interject, Laurie. Sorry to interrupt
please
you.
do. You can't go faster than time.
No, I'm gonna add into that. So if you could pull up, Lawrence, if you had that map there again, the diamond map, it's great.
Bring it back up.
It's great. Yeah, thanks. So looking at the free energy map and this map, you remember if you were to just twist a little bit, you can see that the diamond is still a square. It's just oblate.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That would be an oblate square. So first off, the heavens have a portal, which is a better way to put it would be the sun translates from the east from the west back to the east, and it goes through the north. Now you can't show that on a AE map because there is no east or west, but on your diamond map you can. Now the other thing is, who came up with the Pac-Man concept? We hear, did it just invent itself?
No.
Well, free energy was the first one I heard to put it.
No, I mean the video game.
No, he's talking about the actual video game.
Oh, right, yeah, that dates back to whatever, late 70s, doesn't it?
It just, didn't they just have it's like the 30th anniversary or 40th anniversary of Pac-Man?
Yeah, but for what I'm trying to point out here is that concept has been around since before the Flat Earth revival or whatever it is here, and the boundaries that God has set for the duration of a day and a year and a lifetime has been set between that east and the west. So if you travel from the east to the west, your day and your 24 hours in your reality are confined and bound to those areas. People, this is going to be the most difficult thing for truth seekers such as ourselves here on the panel to explain. But the best way that I can recompense it is the fact that everything is separated into days, years, and millennium. And the only way we could ever get out of that is to be a spirit, because all physically objects are bound to those 4 cardinal places, and there is no debating that. I'm not trying to say I'm sharing God's honest truth. I'm just telling you that time and space is bound to those 4 cardinal directions.
Right. I agree. And one of the things that is interesting about time being added in there, the 4th dimension, is you can't, we've talked about time travel in sci-fi movies and sci-fi books for a long time, but so far, according to what everybody believes, no one's ever done it, or we would notice that it's been done. But then other people say, no, you wouldn't notice because they went back and they changed something and it never happened in the first place that way. So, blah, blah, and paradoxes. So if from east to west, how many miles is it, Lawrence, on the equator of the diamond map?
It's the same as the globe, 24,901, or give or take a few miles.
There you go. So from east to west, the distance is the same on this map as it is on the globe.
It matches the globe.
How far is it from north to south, Lawrence?
Just short of 12,500 miles. I think it's 12,480, something like that.
Okay, so the distance from north to south is half of the distance from east to west, correct?
Exactly half, yeah.
Okay. And all continents and oceans are represented on this map, correct?
That's it, yeah.
If you were going to make a globe, you could take this map and you could wrap it around a globe, and it would be the same addresses everywhere, latitudinally and longitudinally, as it is on the globe, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And the distance is from cities like Los Angeles to Sydney, and from Sydney to Santiago, and from Santiago to St. Petersburg, Russia, are the same on this map as they are on the globe, correct?
Yeah, most of them are to within 5%. And obviously we've got the problem here that, the figures that we're using officially, they are using great circle routes, and obviously we're using straight lines on here. So that explains that. But it's only a small discrepancy. We're not talking thousands of miles. We're just talking small amounts.
Okay. And the length of day in the northern hemiplane and the southern hemiplane at the same longitude or same latitude are roughly the same as they are on a globe, correct?
Correct, yeah.
At opposite times of the year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And we are unable to go to find anyone who has proven the ability to circumnavigate the globe from north to south and back to north again, correct?
Allegedly so, yes.
Okay.
But if you went, let me just interject a little bit here.
Right.
If you see, I've drawn a rectangle around the diamond in thick black. You can see that, can't you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That rectangle, the extra area, so these bits here, that triangle there, and that triangle there, that is all showing as part of the map on Mercator. So there's all, the map continues all over this pet, all this, and this. So that's how exaggerated the Mercator is. And the reason they do that is to enable you to have straight lines to navigate. That's why. So the Mercator, the distance across the North Pole, is the same as across the equator, which we know is not true.
Well, the same with the South Pole.
Across here on Mercator is 25,000 miles on the nearest damn it.
Yeah. Well, okay, but now add to that on the Mercator, the longitude lines are straight up and down. Right?
Yeah, for navigation, they're perfect squares.
They're perfect squares, not even rectangles.
I can go and get a map out if you bear with me. I'll tell you what it is. Just a minute. You carry on chatting a minute.
So why anyone has a problem with looking at this map and saying, okay, everything about this map matches the globe.
The Mercator's all like perfect squares.
All right. And the reason why the globe has been able to be passed off and unquestioned, for the most part, by humanity for all of these centuries is because the observational facts, things like time and day of length of day and location of where things are and being able to navigate and being able to find your way here and there, and you know, getting out a map, even if it's a little map of the state where you live, it's perfectly correct down to the mile, down to the quarter mile, according to that map. So when you look at this, you look at a globe, and then you look at the AE map, okay, which ones of these don't work? That's my question.
Yeah, and people should know that, yeah. So anyway, in case people missed it in a recent show, yeah, if you can see where the cursor is on this map now, if you were in a boat and you were sailing north there, okay, you would hit, you know, the hidden barrier there, okay, and what you would do, you would actually come out on this side, the same as if you were travelling west, yeah, you'd hit the barrier there, and then you'd come back on this side. If you were travelling south and you hit the barrier there, you would come up on the opposite side here. If you were travelling west there, you would come back on the other side here from the east. That's how it all works, and it's obviously repeating space, call it whatever you want. We didn't design the Earth, but this is what happens in real life, and this is what happens on the fictitious globe, and we know it's not a globe. People can sail east-west and get back where they started, and you can on this map. You just have to accept the concept, or consider the concept that, you know, this is some kind of, you know, high-tech technology that God's designed. Who are we to question how he built this place? You know, actually.
Well, that's why people say, you know, we live in a realm and we don't live.
Yeah.
On a globe, we live in a realm. Well, the, you know, description of the word realm is a lot different than a flat Earth plane, because on any plane, unless it's infinite, it has to have a beginning and an end. It has to have boundaries. And so what does the word infinite mean? It means without boundaries. And so if you are traveling east to west, let's just say, okay, you put your little man in a boat and you start out from Sydney and you go east until you come back to Sydney, and then you go again. And then you just keep going around and around and around. If that's what, you know, floats your boat, no pun intended.
Well, you know, Lori,
you would be able to do that.
I could add the Mayan long count calendar is a perfect description of what you just stated, whereas their Bakhtun spun like gears, and each flat marker point would be 1 day of time on this realm, as well as the Mandala prayer wheel. It is the east from the west, wrapped around a spinning wheel. One spin of that wheel of the heavens revolving would be one day, whereas they've back engineered it. And again, from the temple floor, with the tropics projected in straight lines, taking a compass from the master square in the center, you can depict the diamond before us as a sphere.
Correct.
All right, can I just show you something quickly? Hang on, sorry. So this is a world cruise, okay, P&O Cruises, and this is where their world cruise goes. It sets off from Southport in the UK. Sorry, I need to get that. Basically, just a pencil line. And then it cuts up round the Mediterranean, round there, goes down the Suez Canal or something round about here, comes out down here, goes around all these islands round here, goes past New Zealand down there somewhere, re-emerges over here and heads up towards the west coast of America, and then comes up down here, up through the canal, the Panama Canal, is something down there, and then heads back up to the UK. That's how your world cruise goes.
Yeah, what's hard about that?
Yeah, that was easy, wasn't it? But
Perfect.
You can't give me directions on that other map for a world cruise.
Well, there you go.
They navigate. They need two souths, don't they?
Yeah, they have to have two souths, and north is not actually north because there's no north. It's center. You need to just stop saying the word north and just use the word center. Otherwise, you have to have multiple souths.
And looking at the sky, it definitely has a equatorial section, north and a south and an east and a west.
Right. And the sun, and the moon, same thing. It's viewable from upside down and right side up from whatever hemiplane you're looking at it from, viewing it from. And you're seeing the same face, but you're seeing its not trajectory. What's the word? Not you're seeing the same face, but you're seeing a different
wheel, turning of the wheel.
Right. And it's pretty simple that if you're standing on a plane, and I don't even have to use the word perspective. I can say my whole sentence without once having to use the word perspective. From a southerly location looking north, you would see one face of the moon, clock face of the moon. And if you're in the north facing south, you would see pretty much the opposite clock face of the moon. And there's nothing hard about that. They're only divided by the equator. Now, if you're standing at the equator, you're going to see another version of the face of the moon. But the only anomaly that people keep bringing up lately, or at all, is that somebody's echoing. Is that me, you, or who, Lawrence?
I'm muted.
All right, let me see. Okay, it's Lawrence. Lawrence, you're echoing. So anyway, if where was I?
The perspective of the moon.
Oh no, the sunrise. Okay, people see the sun coming in more north than the Tropic of Capricorn. People see it rising in the northeast and what appears to be setting in the northwest. And appears to look like it's straight overhead at noon. And they say that's a perfect example of the circling sun because it's coming in and going out like that. And I'm like, okay, have we not heard our whole lives that the sun's most northerly trek across the sky is at the Tropic of Cancer? And its most southerly is at the Tropic of Capricorn. Well, if you live in Canada and you see the sun rising in the northeast, explain how that happens.
I can even add to you there, Lori. That's a beautiful description. So when the sun is in its most northerly path, in the south, it'll be the closest to the horizon. And when the sun is in its most southerly path, it'll be the most closest to the horizon looking south. And these are the only two perspectives we get of the moon's path. When it's higher in the north, it's lower looking north from the south. And when it's higher in the south, it's lower looking south from the north. It's very easy to understand, hard to say.
Hey, Lawrence, could you do me a huge favor and go out and come back in because you're echoing on everybody except you.
Yeah, because I want to see what he's doing too.
Yeah, because I know he's doing something awesome, but I've got you muted right now, Lawrence. Let's see if it's better. Okay, let me hear you, Lawrence. Oh, he dropped out. Okay, he'll be right back. This happens to him once per show, right at about this time, every time. Not really sure why. It must be a buildup of feedback or something.
It does happen a lot, but you guys have always been quite professional.
Well, we try very hard, I mean, for a couple of non-techies, we do the best we can with the technology we have to use that's free.
I think he's better.
You there, Lauren? Okay, hold on. Let me make sure he's not muted. All right. Are you there, Lauren?
I've got something else for you here now.
Oh, you're good. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So, I've got the screen back again. Right, so we're back on the AE map, and you're at the North Pole. I want to go to one of these research stations that you're telling me about. That just happens to be on the right-hand side of this map at 3 o'clock. So I'm in the North Pole. Which direction would that be?
South.
But no, I'm told every direction out of here is south. So which one would that be? Which south is it? Because apparently north is south, east is south, south is south, east is south, west is south, north is south, and south is
directly south, Lawrence. Just start going south.
Which south would that be?
3 o'clock south.
My compass is only south.
Okay, but here's the problem. Here's the problem with that, Lawrence. Okay, can you rotate the map on your screen?
Yeah.
A quarter turn.
Yeah.
Okay, what if you were given that map?
What if I was given that one?
Okay, now quarter turn it again.
Yeah.
Okay, what if you were given that map? What if you had the map turned?
The directions have changed, haven't they?
What if you had the map turned wrong when you were giving out the directions?
Okay, well, let's assume that we got the map the right way up again. Ronnie, you're at the North Pole, mate. And I want to go to this research station here from the North Pole. I'm flying. Which direction am I going?
East.
East? Which way? Which direction's that?
Left, right, up, down, in, out, around, over.
Direction from there south. So which way's east?
You can't go east until you start getting down south a little bit. Then you can turn east or west according to what I'm told about the AE map.
If every direction is south from the North Pole, how do you get to any location if they're all south?
You don't.
Okay.
It's impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, somebody would have to give you which longitude line to follow for south.
But I've only got a compass. I'm on my boat. I've only got a compass. I've got to sail home to the South Pole to see the penguins. So which direction? I've got my compass in front of me now. Which way am I going?
South.
South.
Lawrence, it's a good exercise. I love it.
Which south is it?
I cannot, in good conscience, give you another answer on that map than south.
Yeah.
Well, you need to take an obtuse 173rd degree angle to the southeasternly for 364 nautical miles, and then you have to reorientate your compass with Polaris, and yeah, it would never work.
Yeah, because you don't know where you are. If one of the things about reading maps or finding your way is you have in order to know where you're going, you have to know where you are. Okay? I mean, you go to the mall and you walk in the mall and somebody says, well, the store is at the south end of the mall, but you got dropped off at the mall with a blindfold on at any one given entrance. Okay? So you walk in that entrance. The only way you're going to know the south end from the north end is you're going to have to go up to one of those kiosks and find the little arrow that says you are here. So
yeah, just don't listen to Neil. Don't listen to the scientists on that "You Are Here" one, though.
What do you mean?
Well, the tiny pale blue dot.
Oh, yeah, that one. You are here in the universe where you're that speck of dust in the millions of specks of dust, and you mean nothing and nobody.
I could just throw out to you guys really quick, too. I found something funny. The globe model theorists specify that the stars are, trillions upon trillions of light years away, And when I ask them, well, why is it that I see stars that look exactly like Polaris crossed between me and the moon and me and the sun? And they're stumped. They don't have an answer.
Well, what do you do? What are you drawing now, Lawrence?
Just bear with me a second.
All right.
Right, Laurie. Okay, so you've gone back to the old model again now.
All right.
Can you? I'm travelling that way. What direction would that be?
South.
That direction's south now, is it? Okay. South. Okay.
See,
So,
I'd have to know which one of those longitude lines you wanted to head out toward.
So that's south. Okay, let me just mark. I'm just going to mark that one in so I don't miss your thing. So that is south. Okay, let's put south in there.
Okay.
That's south. Okay.
If that map were a cigarette butt and Lawrence was a shoe.
That's south. What direction would this be over here? Hang on, let me get another line.
Into the pavement. All right. What's the question?
Now, you told me that's south. What direction is that?
That's south, Lawrence.
I think you need 300. You need 360 times 4 times south, and you'd have to put it.
Okay, so we've got 2 souths now. Okay, let's try again. Let's mark that in as south. Okay, and back to the line.
It's too bad we couldn't have Morgile or Eric Dubé on here to explain this to us, guys.
You got 24 souths on there, so
okay.
you know.
What direction is that? Is that
that's
south?
That's South, Lawrence.
Right. Well, let me just put that in. Let's get all these places in, so we know what we're dealing with.
Of those.
This is, this is crystal clear, isn't it? This is the sort of model that you want to give to the nation on Fox TV. Okay, let's go back to that one. What direction would that be?
That's South, Lawrence.
Right, so we've got 4 souths now. Okay.
No, you actually had 24 souths, Lawrence. So
well, just bear me a second. Let's put that in as well. That's just so we got that. People might want to save this as a memento. All right. Right now then, can you tell me which direction is west?
South.
Which direction would west be?
There's no west.
There is no west. What about east?
There's no east.
There's no east.
There's no north. There's center. There's center and there's 24 souths.
Is north's in the middle, isn't it? I think you told me that when you first met me. So north is there. So there's no east and west then. There's either north or south.
Right.
So when you've got your compass and you're out at sea, you can either go north or south because them are the only 2 directions that exist on your map, are they not? Yeah? There's no east or west?
No.
Right. That's very interesting. So you've told me there's no east or west. So what I'd like you now to do is you're over here in Australia again, and you've got 2 cardinal directions, north and south. I want you to take me around the globe. Round your flat Earth.
Okay, so you can go to.
You can go north or south.
You go south.
Going south, yeah. Okay. Which direction?
Number 4.
Sorry, you've gone south. Which direction is it now? Do you want to go north?
No.
No.
South, no. Top south.
Well, you've only got north or south.
Okay, you went from south number 2 to south number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You go to south 9.
No, you can only have one south.
Well,
4 directions, right?
You can go north if you want.
I hope you got a lot of food and water on that boat, Lawrence.
Well, you decided to change direction there, so you've obviously gone north. Now which way? You're over there now.
South.
South? Which south would that be?
I don't know, but I love the exercise, but
that is south.
I'm so incredibly bored with this map.
You want me to go back the way I came? That's south.
I can't even hardly stand to look at it anymore. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty close to, I mean, this is how sad it's become for me, Lawrence. I have a group of people on Facebook that is, I don't know, just shy of 3,100 people. And these are all flat earthers, you know, except for a few that may be lurking trolls. And every time I see somebody post something in the group and I see that map as their profile picture, it's gotten to the point where I automatically can't take anything they say seriously if they still have that map as their profile picture.
It's the new globe, Lori. And you know, how funny is it that the flat Earth card that I'm using as a logo here is actually depicting the Great Square or the diamond?
Yeah.
There it is.
It's,
you know. What did they know? You know,
there's been feathers this week, that's for sure. You know.
And look at the boat off the side. The boat fell off the side. Look at that.
Yeah. You know, it's mockery right in our face, and you know, it's plain.
I mean, the
for
least
us to
they
see.
could have done is put an ice 78. What is it again, Lawrence? I have dyslexia about this.
It's over 78,000 miles around.
78,000-mile ice ring around the outside. Where's that depicted in this map?
Yeah,
well, you know,
it'd be a nice square, wouldn't it?
They've obviously recycled the same story, and they know how to smash it to pieces, as Lawrence has and you have done, which is amazing. I don't know why it's changed this time, but I guarantee Robotham knew what he was doing, and they knew when they brought this out.
They knew. Well, okay, look at it this way. Robotham's grave marker, and I've seen photos of it. I haven't seen it in person, but I've seen some pretty decent photos of it. It has Masonic symbols all over it. The Synthetic Group Society were probably made up of a great deal of Masons, if not all of them, because that was the thing you did back then. If you were any kind of a important anybody, you were asked to be a Mason, or you wanted to be, because it was the only, you know, elite boys group going. And either that or the Jesuits, and you can kind of mix and match those guys. And, you know, Admiral Byrd, everybody's, ooh, Admiral Byrd's got the AE map behind his head when he's giving the interview for the when he came back, and you know, he's talking about his expedition in Antarctica, and he's got this big AE map. Oh, look. And Admiral Byrd was a Freemason. And people say, oh, how do you know Byrd was a Freemason? Okay, well, can you even bother to research that Admiral Byrd, the first thing he did when he went to Antarctica was set up Lodge number 777 out of New Zealand? Could you go and verify that? Anybody listening right now? Because it's the truth. Now, the lodge apparently doesn't exist anymore, or they've changed it in some way, but it's still listed in information that you can easily find in any search. Lodge number 777 was the first thing Admiral Byrd did when he got to Antarctica. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't put that real high on my priority list if I were beginning expeditions into Antarctica to take the time to set up a lodge with, like, for who? Nobody's there. I mean, for the penguins? Who are you setting up the Masonic Lodge for? So when people think that, oh, look, you know, hiding in plain sight, that's my new favorite term. If I hear it anymore, I think I'm going to start just like getting out barf bags and acting like I'm throwing up, because hiding in plain sight is not the same as putting out disinformation by governmental or quasi-governmental groups for the purpose of brainwashing, indoctrinating, social engineering people. But yet that's what people think. Oh, look, it's hiding. Look, Back to the Future had an AE map right there in the movie. Oh, God, how did I miss that? I mean, come on. You think they did that as like a hiding in plain sight? Nothing in any movie ever that I can remember ever just has random shit in it, okay? Every single thing, every scene, every section, everything is perfectly scripted, and every item that's in there is put in there by the property master. It's all in the script. Nothing is just accidental ever.
Yeah, well said.
So when people think that they've discovered something, ooh, look at this. They hid this right in front of us so we would find it. Think about all the domes in history, in architecture, in, okay, now who's? Lawrence, you're echoing again.
We need to go out again.
It's you. You need to go out and come in again. Dome architecture. Okay, I'm just gonna mute you. Dome architecture in history. Okay, it's in churches, religious buildings. It's in government, over the top of government buildings. There is no such feature in natural, in nature, as a dome. It's a man-made structure. Okay. The only thing that would be even close would be a bubble. If anybody can think of any, leave it in the comments. I'm sure there's some other the top of a mushroom. Okay, but it's not a perfect dome. It might be a quasi dome. But why do you think that all these domes are in architecture, both government and religious? Think about the buildings. Sports arenas, domes. Anything where large amounts of the public go to, that's where the domes are. Why do you think that is? Do you think that's hiding in plain sight?
The domes are the celestial spheres, and you'll notice, like the baseball diamond, is the Earth plane.
Yeah, it is.
In open sight.
Yeah, is that hiding in plain sight?
You said not to say that, so I did.
Oh, God. All right, so we've just passed our 3-hour mark that we usually do these shows. So I'm going to wrap it up on what I call a bundle of information from today. And there's plenty of things for people to mull around in their minds and double check our math and double check our research. Always, Lawrence says every week, debunk whatever he says if you can. Be nice about it, because I'm the one in charge of comments, and I'm the one who, if somebody's a butthead, their comment does not get approved. So thank you, Ronnie, Event Skeptic, for jumping in and joining us. We've been wanting to have you on for a couple of weeks, and for whatever reason it didn't happen, but it finally did. So anytime you have anything new and you'd like to come back, please do.
Thank you.
Lawrence, thank you for your nice mapping and your presentation at the beginning of the show. For anybody listening, thank you for joining us. We appreciate live viewers, but we also appreciate those who watch the show after and those who listen on podcasts, which are downloaded and put on mp3s, and you can find them on iTunes. Or let's see, there's another place, but I can't remember what, Hipcast. And so thanks again, and we'll see you guys next. Are we going to be back next Saturday, Lawrence?
Well, yeah. Well, if we've got some material, something to talk about, we're not going to come and
That's so
just
funny.
wing about nothing. Well, there should be some backlash to what we've put out this week, so hopefully we can talk about the backlash. Or the backlash we never got.
We'll be back next Saturday, folks. Don't think we won't. So sayonara and goodbye and good night and good day.
Good night.
Good night.